Good day everyone. So I, Alhijan Mariales, together with Leo Anthony Mendoza and Christopher Quijano are going to discuss the Presidential Decree number 1096. So what is Presidential Decree 1096? Ang PD 1096 pala ay ang National Building Code ng Pilipinas. At kapag sinabi natin code, ito yung mga set of rules, mga pinagsama-samang batas o alituntunin para sa pagbubuo o pagpapatayo ng iba't ibang klase ng infrastruktura. Its main goals are to keep people safe, healthy, and to ensure na tama at maayos yung building na ipapatayo natin. Ngayon, dumako naman tayo sa history ng batas na ito. Bago pala ang PD 1096, mayroon na pala tayong batas na an Act to Ordain and Institute a National Building Code of the Philippines o ang Republic Act No. 6541 noong 1972. Noong 1977 naman, nilagdaan naman ni former President Ferdinand E. Marcos Sr. yung PD 1096 sa kadahilan ng kailangan daw ng update and para mabago and mas mapalawak pa yung sakop nito. Noong 2004 naman, nag-propose ang Kongreso ng amendment para sa nasabing batas na to improve safety standard, accessibility, and environmental consideration. Dagdag pa rito, dahil nga sa pagbago ng panahon at naging mas high-tech and advanced na tayo sa construction, nagkaroon ng ilang pagbabago sa PD 1096. So after a year, which is 2005, na-approve nga yung revision. And tinawag ito the Revised Implementing Rules and Regulation of the National Building Code of the Philippines. Next, Presidential Decree number 1096, adopting a National Building Code of the Philippines, thereby revising Republic Act number 6541. Sinasabi dito na dahil sa economic development and physical development ng bansa, kinakailangan na magkaroon tayo ng building code na kung saan is mas nakaayon sa makabagong panahon. Pangalawa, na ang Republic Act No. 6541 ay hindi na naka-align sa development goal and infrastructure program ng bansa. And since naging modern na nga tayo and nagkaroon tayo ng tinatawag na technological advancement, hindi na naayon or hindi na sapat yung batas na RA 6541. Whereas, in the formation of new national building code, kinakailangan ng mga expert and professional, not only in the public, but also in the private sector, para magkaroon tayo ng building criteria na napagkakasunduan ng lahat. So, ang PD 1096 is binubuo ng 21 chapters. So, una na nga dito, yung tinatawag nating provision. So, Section 1, naka-indicate dito yung title ng Presidential Decree, which known as the National Building Code of the Philippines. Section 102, it is stated that the policy of the state is to make sure that the life, health, property, and welfare of the people and environment is safe. And this code is for building and infrastructure na kung saan nakasaad yung mga standard and requirements such as the location, material, design, and occupancy na dapat isaalang-alang kapag nagpapatayo tayo ng mga buildings. Section 103, the scope and application. So, sinasabi lang dito na ang lahat ng nakasaad sa code na to is from design, construction, alteration to demolition is applicable sa public and private structures, except sa traditional indigenous family dwelling. So, kapag sinabing kasi natin dwelling, tumitukoy ito sa mga tirahan. So, kaya kahit na may mga batas tayo, ginagalang pa rin ng batas natin yung tradition and culture ng mga indigenous people. Sinasabi rin dito na lahat ng mga buildings and infrastructures bago mapirmahan yung PD 1096 is exempted sa code na to. Pero once na may alteration like nagpa-renovate or nagpaayos ng bahay, dito pala nagkakaroon ng visa yung PD 1096. Next, Section 104, General Building Requirement. It says that all buildings shall conform to the code for safety construction and gagamitin lang to sa purpose ng design and ng building. And for example, kung yung building is for production, dapat sa alang-alang daw yung safety na environment and then yung mga nakapalibot dito. And lahat ng building and facilities dapat na maintain nila yung kaligtasan, kalinisan, and dapat functional siya. Sa Section 105 naman, dapat ang lugar kung saan itatayo yung building or infrastructure is sanitary, hygienic, or safe. Dapat free din daw ito sa mga pollution as well as sa mga lugar na maaaring magkaroon ng sakuna. Halimbawa nga dito, volcano, tapos pag malapit sa mga dagat. So, hindi nga naman tayo magkapatayo ng malapit sa mga bulkan, ganun, di ba? Kasi nga, pag pumutok to, magkakaroon ng hazard or danger sa mga tao. So, katulad din sa ilog, siyempre hindi man tayo magtatayo ng mga building malapit sa ilog kung saan madalas umaapaw yun. So, sa madaling salita, kapag magtatayo tayo ng building, it should be free from danger or hazard. Section 106, definition. So, dito naka-indicate lang lahat ng mga related terms and phrases together with their meaning for better understanding. So, example nga dito is addition, which means increases the height or floor area. So, hindi natin siya isa-isahin kasi nga masyadong marami ito. Next chapter, chapter 2, administration and enforcement. Section 201. Tinutukoy lang dito na yung administration and enforcement ng batas is nasa kamay ng secretary. So, yung tinutukoy dito ng secretary is the Secretary of Public Works, Transportation, and Communication. Or sa ngayon, mas kilala na to as DPWH or yung Department of Public Works and Highway. It's their responsibility to look if may violation ba sa construction na ito or it is also in their hand kung ano yun ipapataw na penalty if mayroon man na violate sa code na to. Section 202. Sinasabi dito na the secretary is empowered to choose technical staff of a skilled architect, engineer, and technician within the department. So, sinasabi lang dito na may kapangyarihan daw yung secretary na siya mismo ay mamili ng kanyang mga staff. So, next, section 203. General powers and function of the secretary under this code. The secretary should formulate policies, plans, and standard and guidelines in accordance with this code. So 2, sinasabi dito na once nakapag-formulate daw siya ng policies and guidelines, dapat mag-issue rin siya ng mga specific rules and regulation when implementing. So in this case, na-ensure natin yung consistency ng guidelines. Number 3, as a secretary, it is also his or her job to evaluate, review, or approve if may nais na baguhin sa code na to. So, nasa kamay niya, if sa tingin niya is need ng pagbabago o hindi mula sa code na to. Number 4, as a secretary, siya rin dapat yung nag-set ng fees like permit and inspection. Next is section 204, professional and technical assistance. Sinasabi lang dito na those technical staff na binuo mismo ng secretary shall provide different services including professional, technical service, and testing laboratories and facilities. So, next, section 205, building official. So, dito sa building official, sila daw in charge ng pag-implement ng rules. So, if ever na walang building official dun daw sa lugar, and kinakailangan na daw is yung secretary daw yung mag-appoint dun sa ng current engineer dun sa mismong municipalities na wala pang building official. So, yung napili daw ni secretary is mag-i-stay doon sa lugar na yon until may ipapalit na silang building official doon sa lugar. Section 206. So, sino ba ang maaari maging building official? Nakasaad dito na una, dapat you are Filipino with good moral. So, dapat malinis yung pangalan mo. Pangalawa, dapat you are registered civil engineer or architect. So, itong mga professions lang pala na to, yung mga pwedeng may talaga as building official. Third, is you must be member of organized professional organization such as PICE or United Architect of the Philippines for at least 2 years. And lastly, you should have 5 years experience in your profession. Next, section 207. As a building official, may kakaibat yan ng mga duties such as being responsible in enforcement of the code and implementing rules and regulation. Sa kanya din daw mga galing yung mga building permits. So, trabaho niya rin daw na mag-inspect na existing building with their respective area. And may kapangyarihan din daw sila na ipatigil yun isang construction if hindi daw siya naayon sa PD 1096. Section 208. Building officials shall keep a permanent record and accurate account of all fees and other charges. and he or she can keep 20% of his or her office while the 80% is dapat niya daw i-remit sa municipal treasury na ibibigay naman ng municipal treasurer sa general fund of either province or the mismong municipality. Next, Section 209. Sabi nga, lahat ng bagay is my exception. So, Section 209 is stated that all public buildings such as public school and hospital as well as traditional indigenous family dwelling is exempted sa pagbabayad ng building permit. Ni-specify rin dito na yung mga indigenous people should be constructed using bamboo, nipa, lumber, and dapat pumapatak lang daw ng 15,000 or less yung gastos nila sa pagpapatayo ng bahay na to. Section 210. So, yung na-collect daw na makita from Office of Building Official is maaari daw kunin ng Secretary yung 20% dito para mapalitan or mabayaran yung mga expenses niya such as operating and travel expenses, facilities and equipment, and others. And these expenses must comply with budgetary and auditing rules. Section 211. Sabi nga kanina, one of the duties of Secretary is to formulate and implement rules and regulation. And nag-take effect lang daw ito after their publication once a week for 3 consecutive weeks in the newspaper. Section 212. Although yung secretary is siya yung magde-decide ng bayad if may nabayad sa rules, hindi daw dapat tataas ng 10k pesos yung fine dito. Next, 213 or penal provision. So ano ba muna yung pinagkaiba nito sa administrative fines? So when we say administrative fines kasi, tumutukoy ito sa action and process or yung responsibility of a person as a part of activities or the management. So it does not directly affect the public people. Some of the administrative fines includes failure to submit documents on time, or late or hindi pag-submit ng records or report na hinihingi ni building official. While penal provision is a violation directly affected the people or the safety of the buildings. For example, paggamit ng mga substandard na material or hindi paglalagay ng maayos na sprinkler system and fire exits, or pag-demolish na wala namang mga permit. If nangyari ito, maaari daw magbayad ng at most 20,000 yung violators or makulong na hindi higit sa 2 taon or both. So, pwede siya magbayad at makukulong. Then, kapag daw sinabi dito na foreign yung nag-violator, so pagbabayarin daw siya or ikukulong siya, then after mapagbayaran yun is, tsaka naman siya i-deport. Next, Section 214. Dito, dinidefine lang kung ano ba yung mga may naturing na dangerous building, such as building na di maayos or delikado yung mga ginamit na material, and mga building na malapit sa fire hazard or mga building na nagdudulot ng pollution sa environment, such as factory na mausok or naglalabas ng mga chemical waste na nakaka-apekto mismo sa health and safety ng public. Next, Section 215. Abatement of dangerous building. Sinasabi dito na if there is a dangerous or ruinous building, magbababa daw ng order yung building official sa lugar, which is either ipapa-repair, i-abandon, or ipapa-demolish. Depende daw kung gaano kalalay yung sitwasyon ng lugar. Section 216, Other Remedies. Sinasabi lang dito na rights and remedies sa PD 1096 is not exclusive sa code lang na to. So, ibig sabihin, ito daw, code na to is nag-coexist with other law. Halimbawa, kapag may nagtayo sa inyo ng building and nalaman mong walang permit or hindi maayos yung pagkagawa, so maaaring ikaw mismo yung magsumbong sa otoridad. Dahil kapakanan nyo ngayon nakakataya dito. Ibig sabihin, hindi lang siya under ng national code, kundi naapektuhan din dito yung human rights mo. So, dumako naman tayo sa Chapter 3, which is Permits and Inspection. So, ano ba nilalaman nito? So, una, Section 301, Building Permit. So, specific naman dito na sinabi na no building shall erect, construct, alter, or demolish without obtaining building permit from building official from that place. So, 302, Application of Permit. So, paano ba tayo makakuha ng permit? Una, Description of Work. So, sasabihin mo lang dito kung anong klaseng work or project ba yung gagawin? Magtatayo ba tayo ng building or magdi-demolish tayo ng building? Yung building ba na itatayo is for residential or for industrial? Bungalow ba to? Second floor? Third floor? or ilang floor ba to. So, kinakailangan ditong malaman para alam natin kung anong safety standard ba yung dapat nating ma-meet para safety and welfare ng public. Number 2, dapat may original copy din ng TCT or yung Transfer Certificate of Title. Or if hindi naman sa'yo yung lupa, pwede ka naman daw mag-provide ng contract of lease o na nagpapatunay na eligible ka na you are legal na magpatayo ng building doon sa lugar. Number 3, so dapat dito, sasabihin mo lang ba kung ano ba yung purpose ng building. So, yung building mo ba yon is pang restaurant ba siya, o pang clinic ba siya, or baka naman pang apartment. So, number 4, as an applicant, you also need to provide the estimated cost. So, bakit ba natin kailangan i-provide yung estimated cost? So, nagpo-provide tayo ng estimated cost para malaman kung ilan yung i-incurred nating bayad sa permit. And also, para malaman din natin if capable ba na matapos yung building na ipapatayo with respect to financial matters. In addition, ni-require din na magbigay ng 5 copies ng plans and specification with signature of different professional with respect to their expertise. So, sinasabi lang dito na kapag nagbigay ka daw ng electrical plan, kailangan may firma ng electrical engineering. Next, Section 303. Processing of building permit. So, sinasabi dito na pagmamalakad ng building permit is responsibility ni building official. Siya yung nag-inspect kung approved ba yung mga requirements na pinasa mo or kung may error ba doon. Kasi kung may error, hindi ka maibigyan nun. Or ibig sabihin, bibigyan ka ng pagkakataon na ayusin mo yon. Next, Section 304. Once na nasatisfy na yung mga requirements and wala naman na-violate na code, so maaari na tayo ngayong bigyan ng permit. So, once na-settled na lahat and nakapagbayad na si permittee, so, pwede nang ibigay sa kanya yung permit and pwede na siyang mag-construct. So, binanggit din dito na kung ano lang yung in-issue doon is dapat yun lang yung gawin. So, kung first floor lang naman yung binigay na plan, so dapat na makita is first floor. So, dapat hindi ka magdalagdag ng iba pang floor. Kasi nga, violation na kagad yun sa code. So, pwede na yun ipatigil. Kasi nga, wala naman yun sa original mong binigay eh. So, next. Section 305. So, sa section na ito, nakapalo dito yung limitation and condition once na nakuha natin yung building permit. So, sinasabi nga rito na permit does not allow you to violate the code. So, yung permit, isinaalaw lang tayo para mapagtayo ng bahay at hindi tayo inaalaw para ma-accept sa batas. Sinasabi rin dito na once na may flaws sa approved plans na di nakita nun and against yun sa code is ipapaayos ni building official yun. And if hindi naman pumayag si permittee, pwedeng ipatigil ni building official yun pagka-construct ng building. Nakalagay din dito yung validity ng permit. So, sinasabi dito na mag-expire daw yung permit if di pa rin nagsimula yung project within a year. And if ever naman na natigil yun ng 120 days, dapat kumuulit ng permit para magpatuloy yung project. Next, Section 306. So, dito naman nakapaloob kung bakit hindi nabibigyan o nagkakaroon ng suspension dun sa permit. Una na nga rito, if may nakitang error dun sa plan, any specification. So, for example nga, is may kulang ka na ipasa or baka naman mayroong missing data na nakaligtaan ipasa sa building official. Next, if may error or inaccurate yung data na pinasa sa building official. And lastly, if may na-violate daw na standard within the code. It can be about the building or the safety ng public. Next, Section 307, Appeal. So, if ever daw na hindi na-approve yung issuance ng permit, so si permitted daw is pwede daw mag-appeal within 15 days sa secretary and after may ibigay yung notice. So, dito, re-reviewin daw ni secretary yon. So, siya magdi-decide kung okay ba or hindi talaga okay yung project na ipapagawa. Section 308, Inspection and Supervision of Work. Sinasabi dito na dapat may licensed civil engineer or architect na mag-inspect doon sa nasabing building na ipapagawa para malaman if sumusunod daw ba sila sa building code. So, maaari daw kung sino yung engineer or architect na nag-design ng bahay, siya din daw yung mag-inspect dun sa building. And in case na ibang professional yung kinuha, is may karapatan pa rin daw yung engineer or architect na mag-design ng bahay to check and inspect if naka-align pa rin ba yung design niya and pasok pa rin ba sa safety standard yung project. Siyempre, may responsibility pa rin naman si engineer na nag-design kasi nga andun pa rin naman yung pirma niya. Dapat meron din daw logbook sa construction site, which is nakalagay lahat dito yung mga kaganapan doon sa site. Like, meron bang ginawang lab testing? Ano ba yung mga progress na nangyari sa araw na yun, and yung weather sa araw na yun, and etc. After finishing the construction, yung inspector daw or yung supervisor is nire-required na ipass yung logbook to the building official. And also, need daw mag-submit ng certificate of completion na nagpapatunay na tapos na daw yung building and walang na-violate na code habang ginagawa at hanggang matapos yung building. Section 309, Certificate of Occupancy. Sinasabi dito na hanggang wala daw Certificate of Occupancy is hindi daw pwedeng magamit yung building. So after mag-submit na Certificate of Completion and final inspection of the building, so maaari na mag-issue si building official ng Certificate of Occupancy kung maayos naman daw yung lahat. Sa final inspection, tinitignan dito kung pasok ba sa safety standard yung mga ginamit na materials and if yung building ba is safe bang tirhan. If ever daw na may na-violate daw sa code na to, according sa section 306, is hindi daw ma-issue sa'yo yung Certificate of Occupancy. So, wala ka talagang taka. So, hindi mo pwedeng baguhin kung ano yung nakalagay sa plan. Pero like, building permit, pwede rin daw siyang i-appeal in accordance to section 307. Ngayon, dumako naman tayo sa chapter 4, which is types of construction. So, there are types of construction according to section 401. So, type 1, building shall be of wood construction. So, dapat gawa daw to sa kahoy. Type 2, it is also wood construction with protective fire resistance materials na kayang tumagal ng 1 hour sa sunog. Kapag gumamit naman daw ng hollow block and semento, pasok naman siya sa type 3. So, provided daw na yung ginagamit na pambubong or support is gawa pa rin sa kahoy. Type 4, sinasabi rito na yung building material na ginamit is steel and concrete na. So, it should be incombustible or hindi dapat siya nasusunog. Except the permanent non-bearing partition may use fire retardant wood. Type 5, building shall be fire resistive. So, lahat daw dapat ng material is incombustible na. So, wala na daw dapat kahoy na ginagamit. Section 402, Changes in Types. So, if gusto daw magpalit ni owner ng type ng building, dapat mag-propose siya kay public official showing na it is less hazard than the existing one. Section 403, Requirements on Type of Construction. So, sinasabi lang dito na each type of construction is may sinusunod tayong safety standard and regulation. And itong mga requirements na to is matatake natin sa mga susunod na chapter. Chapter 5, Requirements for Fire Zone. Section 501, Fire Zone Defined. So, as it is stated, fire zones are areas within which only certain type of building are permitted to be constructed based on their use or occupancy, type of construction, and resistance to fire. Section 502, Buildings located in more than one fire zone. So, if ever down a building is located more than one fire zone, which is at least 1/3 down nung floor area ng building, the building is considered in highly restrictive fire zone, which is mas higpitan nila yung standard ng building in terms of fire resistance. Next, section 503, Move Building. Any building or structure moved within or into a fire zone shall be made to comply with all the requirements for building in the fire zone. So, if ever daw na maglilipad tayo ng building sa mismong fire zone, is dapat na-meet niya yung mga safety standard na ni-required doon sa fire zone mismo na paglilipatan. Section 504. Those temporary buildings such as shed or yung mga barracks is ina-allow daw na itayo within the fire zone with special permit within a period of time. And kapag daw nag-end yung validity ng permit is kailangan nilang baklasin yung mga temporary building na to. Section 505, Center Lines of Streets. So, alam niyo ba yung white or yellow line na nasa gitna ng kalsada? Yun yung tinatawag na center line. So, kung yung building official daw is nagsabi na kailangan ng 6 meter setback, ngayon, pwede daw gamitin yung center line as reference. So, madalas itong applicable dun sa palengke or kalsada kapag nagtatayo sila ng new building or infrastructure. Next, Section 506, Restriction on Existing Buildings. So, if there are buildings na hindi daw sumunod sa requirements and hindi na-meet yung safety standard within the person, hindi daw pinapayagan na magkaroon ng alteration or changes dun sa building na yon, except A, the building is being demolished. Since hindi naman na siya safe, pinapayagan na i-demolish na yung building na yon. B, if the case is to move the building in safer place. C, binibigyan sila ng 1 year to make minor changes pero dapat hindi daw lalagpas sa 20% ng value ng building yung mga gastos nila, or dapat di rin daw sila magdadagdag ng combustible materials like wood na magkukos pa ng hazard. D, in case daw na may dadagdag na building, kinakailangan daw na separated daw siya with firewalls from the existing building. Then E, if ever naman daw na may natural phenomena like earthquake or bagyo, hinayaan lang daw na ipa-repair yung building na yon. Basta daw, hindi daw lalagpas ulit ng 20% ng value ng building yung mga gastos sa pagre-repair. Next, Section 507, Designation of Fire Zone. So, sinasabi lang dito na secretary is the responsible sa pag-set ng rules and regulation in different level of fire zone. And kasama dito, dapat may local, physical, and spatial frameworks daw na ibibigay sa bawat municipality and city. Next chapter, Chapter 6, Fire System Requirements in Construction. Section 601, Fire System Rating Defined. As it defines, fire system ratings means the degree to which a material can withstand fire as determined by generally recognized and accepted testing methods. 602, Fire System Time Period Rating. So, dito naman, nakalagay kung gaano katagal yung kakayanin na isang material bago siya tuluyang masunog. And described by R. So, mayroon tayong 1 hour, 2 hour, 3 hour, 4 hour. Section 603, Fire System Standard. So, sinasabi dito na material should classify according to its fire retardant So, pag sabi natin retardant, from the word retard means to delay or its fire spreading characteristics. Section 604, Fire System Regulations. Like the other chapter, kinakailangan daw ng secretary na mag-promulgate ng rule and regulation sa pagtitest ng mga construction materials from woods, windows, to ceilings para malaman kung ano ba yung mga angkop ng material to meet the safety standard. Next chapter, Chapter 7, Classification and General Requirements of All Buildings by Use or Occupancy. Section 701, Occupancy Classified. So we have 10 classification according to Section 701. First, residential dwelling. Then, dapat no more than 10 people daw yun kaya nitong accommodate. Group B, kapag lumagpas daw ng 10 residents and has multiple rooms or dwelling, it is now classified as Group B, such as apartment and hotels. So, next, Group C. Dito naman kabilang yung mga school and recreation, such as library or gym, yun yung kung saan tayo nag-workout. Then, Group D, institutional. So, it divided into 3. Una, Division 1, includes mental hospital, mga kulungan, rehab, or any building daw na kung saan nire-restrain or kinukulong yung mga tao. Sa Division 2 naman, kabilang dito yung mga nursery for babies and hospitals na kaya mag-accommodate ng more than 5 people. Sa Division 3 naman, so halos same lang naman sila nakalagay. So, ang pinagkaiba lang naman nila is yung Division 2 is need ng further assistance. So, ibig sabihin, like babies and not ambulatory patients. Or yung mga patient na nakadepende na lang sa mga tao, hindi na nila kayang pakainin sarili nila or alagaan. Sa Division 3 naman, nursery for children. Ibig sabihin, hindi na sanggol yung mga inaalagaan nila. And as same with ambulatory patient, which means kahit na may nararamdaman sila or may karamdaman sila, is they can still move around. Next is Group 3, Business and Mercantile. Like Group D, nahati ulit to sa tatlo. First, including gasoline station and mga bilihan ng kotse and storage garage na wala daw ginagamit na open piles and welding sa area. Division 2, which includes retail shops, small restaurant, and police and fire station. Division 3, so particular daw ito sa malalaking parking space or garahe like hangars o yung mga garahian na mga aircrafts. Next, Group F or industrial. When we say industrial, so kabilang dito yung iba't ibang uri ng planta. Group G, storage and hazardous. So, nakatito sa 5 division. Unang division is storage for high flammable materials like yun nga gasoline. Division 2, including storage for dry cleaning plants and paint, which is also flammable. Division 3, woodworking and factories. So, kabilang dito yung mga nagtitistes ng mga kahoy, yung gumagawa ng mga wood sculpture, and yung mga nagbebenta ng coco lumber. And any factory, basta any factory na nagpo-produce ng wood dust na prone sa sunog. Division 4, repair garage like, yun na nga, repair garage like mga talyer. And lastly, Division 5, which is specific for aircraft repair hangars. Group H, assembly other than Group 1. So, inahati ito ulit sa tatlong division. Una is assembly building with stage. Number 2, without stage. Number 3, including stage room, amusement park, or anything na hindi covered down ng Division 1 and Division 2. So, Group I. So, sa Group H daw is assembly other than Group 1 and dapat daw is under siya kaya niya lang daw occupy is less than 1,000 people. So, pagdating naman sa Group I, kaya niya daw accommodate is more than 1,000 people. Like yun nga, Philippine Arena. Lastly, Group J, accessories. So, ito yung mga building na hindi naman talaga siya kasama doon sa part or hiwalay siya mismo sa building. Like, carport, tool shed, and barn or yung tinatawag natin kamalig. Kasama rin dito sa accessories yung mga bakod na mas mataas daw sa 1.8 meters. And yung mga cell towers and water tanks naman. So yung water tanks dito, hindi ito yung water tanks na sa bahay niyo. Ito yung mga malaking water tank na ginagamit sa community. B, if ever daw na yung mga building is if ever daw na may mga building na hindi nabanggit, pwede daw i-consult to sa DPWH secretary. And yung secretary na mismo yung magde-decide kung saang group daw i-include yung building na yun. Section 702, change in use. If ever na gusto daw magpalit ng use of occupancy, so kinakailangan daw mag-comply sa building officials. And kay building official naman, siya yung mag-approve nung changes na to. Next, section 703, mixed occupancy. So may pagkakataon daw na nagkakaroon tayo ng mixed type building. For example, yung building is nahati sa dalawa. Yung unang side is tindahan, then yung other side is tirahan pala. So, if ganito daw yung case, ina-approve daw siya as long as each type daw ng building na yon is na-meet niya yung requirements ng safety standard. Then, pinapayagan din daw magkaroon ng mixed occupancy kapag minor accessories lang naman daw yon. So, yung kakagaya nga ng mga carports, tool shed, so, dapat hindi daw lalagpas ng 10% ng floor area ng building. Ng mismong building na nakatayo na. And sa ibang case daw is may separation daw dapat between types of occupancy. So, like firewall or wall partition. Isa tingin naman daw ni building official is hindi sila pwede pagdikitin. Yung dalawang type ng occupancy is ni-require niya na separated na lang yung lugar para sa separated na lang daw yung building para sa safety ng lugar. C, types of occupancy separation. So, sabi dito na each type of occupancy is dapat classify siya into 1R fire resistive occupancy. So, meaning, kaya niya mag-resist ng material from the fire. 2, 2-hour fire system occupancy separation. So, kaya niya tumagal ng 2 oras. 3-hour fire system occupancy separation. So, naka-indicate din dito na dapat yung opening is not greater than 25% of the length of the wall. And also, hindi daw lalaki ng 10 square meter yung openings. So, pagdating naman sa 4-hour fire system occupancy, sinasabi daw dito na dapat yung building is walang opening. And kaya niya daw mag-resist ng 4 hours resistive construction. Section 704, location of the property. Sinasabi rito na if there are more than one building in the same property and ang una daw nating assumption is separated sila. Pero kapag daw yung combined floor area ng dalawang building is within a limit, so kino-consider natin siya na isa lang, provided na ina-ensure nito yung safety ng lugar. Section 705, allowable floor areas. Sinasabi dito na allowable floor area daw ng isang building is nakadepende sa type ng building. And ang magko-proclaim daw nito is yung secretary ulit ng DPWH. Sinasabi dito na dapat separate building within property is magkahiwalay daw yung pagsukat ng floor area. Section 706, allowable floor area increase. So, binanggit nga rito na sa mga specific instances, inaalaw daw na ipa-extend yung building, provided daw na inapprove siya ni building official. Section 707, maximum height of building. The maximum height of building from floor to ceiling is dapat daw hindi lalagpas ng 3 meter for building na for dwelling. So, ito yung mga tinitirhan ng mga tao. Para naman daw sa mga building na hindi para sa mga tao, hindi tinitirhan ng mga tao, pwede daw to hanggang 6 meters like tower. Section 708, minimum requirements for Group A dwelling. A, dwelling location and lot occupancy. Sinasabi dito na kung yung building mo is located sa corner ng street, is pwede mo i-occupy 90% mismo ng lote. And if nasa gitna naman or napapalibutan siya ng ibang property, pwede mo daw i-occupy yung 80% ng lote mismo. Provided daw na mayroong 2 meter setback from the property line. B, light and ventilation. So, dito may discuss na mamaya sa chapter 8 which is light and ventilation. Sanitation. Sinasabi dito na dapat mayroon daw at least one toilet and also washing and drainage facilities. Foundation. Sinasabi dito na dapat yung pundasyon daw ng building is at least 250 mm thick and dapat below 60 mm from the ground. E, post. So, ito yung poste. So, kapag maglalagay tayo ng poste ng bahay, dapat daw nakaangla siya dun sa mismong pundasyon or yung mismong footings na nilagay. And dapat daw na nakakabit siya by bolts and straps. F, floor. So, malinaw naman na nakasad dito na dapat yung load daw na kayang i-allow is at least 200 kg per square meter para sa first floor and at least 150 kg per square meter naman sa second floor. Roof. Para naman sa roof, dapat daw kaya niya i-withstand yung wind load na 120 kg per square meter. Stairs. Stairs shall be at least 750 mm in width, 200 mm in rise o yung taas, and a minimum run of 200 mm din. I, entrance and exit. There shall be at least one entrance and another one for exit. J, electrical requirements. All electrical installations shall conform to the requirements of the Philippine Electrical Code. So, K, so mechanical requirements, same lang din. Dapat daw naka-align siya sa Philippine Mechanical Engineering Code. Section 709, requirements for other groups occupancies. So, sinasabi lang naman dito na the rules and regulation of minimum requirements of other occupancies aside from dwellings is manggagaling na mismo sa Secretary ng DPWH.
Chapter 8, Light and Ventilation. Section 801, General Requirements of Light and Ventilation. subject to the provisions of the Civil Code of the Philippines on easements of light and view, and to the provisions of this part of the code. Every building shall be designed, constructed, and equipped to provide adequate light and ventilation. All buildings shall face a street or public alley or a private street which has been duly approved. No building shall be altered nor arranged so as to reduce the size of any room or the relative area of the windows to less than the provided for the buildings under this code, or to create an additional room unless such additional room conforms to the requirements of this code. Lastly, no building shall be enlarged so that the dimensions of the required court or yard will be less than the prescribed for such buildings. Section 802. Measurement of site occupancy. The measurement of site occupancy or lot occupancy shall be taken at the ground level and shall be exclusive of courts, yards, and light wells. Courts, yards, and light wells shall be measured clear of all the projections from the walls enclosing such wells or yards with the exception of roof leaders, wall, coping, sills, or steel fire escapes not exceeding 1.2 meters in width. Section 803. Percentage of site occupancy. Minimum site occupancy shall be governed by the use, type of construction, and height of the building and the use area, nature, and location of the site, and subject to the provisions of the local zoning requirements and in accordance with the rules and regulations promulgated by the Secretary. Section 804. Size and dimensions of courts. Minimum size of courts and their least dimensions shall be governed by the use, type of construction, and height of the building, as provided in the rules and regulations promulgated by the Secretary, provided that the minimum horizontal dimensions of court shall be not less than 2 meters. All inner courts shall be connected to a street or yard, either a passageway with a minimum width of 1.2 meters or by a door through a room or rooms. Section 805, or ceiling heights. Habitable rooms provided with artificial ventilation shall have a ceiling height not less than 2.4 meters, measured from the floor to the ceiling, provided that for buildings of more than one story, the minimum ceiling height for the first story shall be 2.7 meters and that for the second story is 2.4 meters. And succeeding stories shall have an unobstructed typical headroom clearance of not less than 2.1 meters above the finished floor. Above stated rooms with natural ventilation shall have a ceiling height not less than 2.7 meters. Mezzanine floors shall have a clearance or ceiling height not less than 1.8 meters above and below it. Section 806. Size and dimension of rooms. Minimum sizes of rooms and their least horizontal dimensions shall be as follows. Rooms for human habitations. 6 square meters with at least dimension of 2 meters. Kitchens. 3 square meters with at least dimensions of 1.5 meters. Bath and toilet. 1.2 square meters with at least dimension of 0.9 meters. Section 807. Airspace requirements in determining the size of rooms. Minimum airspace shall be provided as follows. School rooms shall have 3 cubic meters with 1 square meter of floor area per persons. Workshop, factories, and offices should have 12 cubic meters of airspace per persons, and habitable rooms must have 14 cubic meters of airspace per persons. Section 808. Window openings. Every room intended for any use not provided with artificial ventilation system as herein specified in this code shall be provided with a window or windows with a total free area of openings and equal to at least 10% of the floor area of room, and such window shall open directly to a court, yard, public street or alley, or open water courses. Section 809. Vent shops. Ventilation or vent shops shall have a horizontal cross-sectional area of not less than 0.1 square meter for every meter of height of shaft, but in no case shall the area be less than 1 square meter. No vent shop shall have its least dimension less than 600 millimeters. Skylights, unless open to the outer air at the top of its full area, vent shop shall have covered by a skylight having a net free area or fixed lower openings equal to the maximum required shaft area. Air ducts shall have opened to a creek or court by a horizontal duct or intake at a point below the lowest window opening. Such duct or intake shall have a minimum unobstructed cross-sectional area of not less than 0.3 square meter with a minimum dimension of 300 millimeters. The openings to the duct or intake shall not be less than 300 millimeters above the bottom of the shaft and the straight surface or level of court at the respective ends of the duct or intake. Section 810 Ventilation Skylights. Skylights shall have a glass area not less than the required for the windows that are replaced. They should be equipped with movable sashes or louvers with an aggregate net-free area not less than that the required for openable parts in the window that are replaced or provided with approved artificial ventilation of equivalent effectiveness. Section 811 Artificial Ventilation. Rooms or spaces housing industrial or heating equipment should be provided with artificial means of ventilation to prevent excessive accumulation of hot and or polluted air. Whenever artificial ventilation is required, the equipment shall be designed and constructed to meet the following minimum requirements in air changes. For rooms entirely above grade and used for office, clerical, or administrative purposes, or as stores, sales room, restaurants, markets, factories, workshops, or machinery rooms, not less than 3 changes of air per hour shall be provided. For rooms entirely above grade and used as bakeries, hotel or restaurant kitchens, laundries, other than accessories to dwellings, and boiler rooms, not less than 10 changes of air per hour shall be provided. For auditorium, and other rooms used for assembly purposes with seats or other accommodations, not less than 0.3 cubic meter of air per minute shall be supplied for each persons. For wards and dormitories of institutional buildings, not less than 0.45 cubic meter of air per minute shall be supplied for each persons accommodated. Lastly, for other rooms or spaces not specifically covered under this section of the code, applicable provisions of the Philippine Mechanical Engineering Code shall be followed. Chapter 9 Sanitation Section 901 General Requirements Subject to the provisions of Book 2 of the Civil Code of the Philippines on property, ownership, and its modification, all buildings hereafter erected, altered, remodeled, relocated, or repaired for human habitation shall be provided with adequate and potable water supply, plumbing installation, and suitable wastewater treatment or disposal system, stormwater drainage, pest and vermin control, noise abatement device, and such other measures required for the protection and promotion of health of persons occupying the premises and other living nearby. Section 902 Water Supply System. Whenever available, the potable water requirements for a building used for human habitation shall be supplied from existing municipal or city waterworks system. The quality of drinking water from meteoric, surface, or underground sources shall conform to the criteria set in the latest approved national standards for drinking water. The design, construction, and operation of deep wells for abstraction of groundwater shall be subject to the provisions of the Water Code of the Philippines. The design, construction, and operation of independent waterworks systems, private housing subdivisions, or industrial estates shall be governed by existing laws relating to local waterworks system. Lastly, the water piping installations inside the buildings and premises shall conform to the provisions of the National Plumbing Code of the Philippines. Section 903 Wastewater Disposal System. Sanitary sewage from buildings and neutralized or pre-treated industrial wastewater shall be discharged directly into the nearest street sanitary sewer main of existing municipal or city sanitary sewage system, in accordance with the criteria set by the Code on Sanitation and the National Pollution Control Commission. All buildings located in areas where there are no available sanitary sewerage system shall dispose their sewage or IMHOF or septic tank and subsurface absorption field. Lastly, sanitary and industrial plumbing installations inside buildings and premises shall conform to the provisions of the National Plumbing Code. Section 904. Storm Drainage System. Rainwater drainage shall not discharge to the sanitary sewer system. Adequate provision shall be made to drain low areas in buildings and their premises. Section 905. Pest and Vermin Control. All buildings with hollow and/or wood construction shall be provided with rat-proofing. Garbage bins and receptacles shall be provided with ready means for cleaning and with positive protection against entry of pests and vermins. Dining rooms for public use without artificial ventilation shall be properly screened. Section 906. Noise Pollution Control. Industrial establishments shall be provided with positive noise abatement devices to tone down the noise level of equipment and machineries to acceptable limits set down by the Department of Labor and the National Pollution Control Commission. Section 907. Pipe Materials. All pipe materials to be used in buildings shall conform to the standard specifications of the Philippine Standard Council. Chapter 10. Building Projection over Public Streets. Section 1001. General Requirements. No part of any building or structure of any of its appendages shall project beyond the property line of the building site, except as provided in this code. The projection of any structure or appendage over a public property shall be the distance measured horizontally from the property line to the uttermost point of the projection. Section 1002. Projection into alleys or streets. No part of any structure or its appendage shall project into any alley or street, national road, or public highway except as provided in this code. Footings located at least 2.4 meters below grade along national roads or public highway may project not more than 300 millimeters beyond the property line. Foundations may be permitted to encroach into public sidewalks areas to a width not exceeding 500 millimeters, provided that the top of the said foundation is not less than 600 millimeters below the established grade, and provided further that the said projection does not obstruct any existing utility such as power, communication, gas, water, or sewer lines, unless the owner concerned shall pay the corresponding entities for the rerouting of the parts of the affected utilities. Section 1003. Projection of balconies and appendages over streets. The extent of any projection over an alley or street shall be uniform within a block and shall conform to the limitations set forth. The clearance between the established grade of the street and or sidewalk and the lowest undersurface of any part of the balcony shall not be less than 3 meters. Section 1004. Arcades. Whenever required by existing buildings and zoning regulations, arcades shall be constructed on sidewalks of streets. The width of the arcade and its height shall be uniform throughout the street, provided that in no case shall an arcade be less than 3 meters above the established sidewalk grade. Section 1005. Canopies or marquees. Definition: a canopy or marquee is a permanent roof structure above a door, attached to and supported by the building and projecting over a wall or sidewalk. This includes any object or decoration attached thereto. Projection and clearance. The horizontal clearance between the outermost edge of the marquee and the curb line shall not be less than 300 millimeters. The vertical clearance between the pavement or ground line and the undersurface of any part of the marquee shall not be less than 3 meters. Construction. A marquee shall be constructed of incombustible material or materials of not less than 2 hours fire-resistive construction. It shall be provided with necessary drainage facility. Lastly, location. Every marquee shall be so located as not to interfere with the operation of any exterior standpipe connection or to obstruct the clear passage from stairway exits from the building or the installation of maintenance of electroliers. Section 1006. Movable awnings or hoods. An awning is a movable shelter supported entirely from an exterior wall of a building and of a type which can be retracted, folded, or collapsed against the face of a supporting building. The horizontal clearance between the awning and the curb line shall not be less than 300 millimeters. The vertical clearance between the undermost surface of the awning and the pavement or ground line shall not be less than 2.4 meters. Collapsible awnings shall be so designated that they shall not block a required exit when collapsed or folded. Section 1007. Doors, windows, and the like. Doors, windows, and the like less than 2.4 meters above the pavement or ground line shall not, when fully opened or upon opening, project beyond the property line except fire exit doors. Section 1008. Corner buildings with chaflans. Every corner building or solid fence on a public street or alley less than 3.6 meters in width shall be truncated at the corner. The face of the triangle so formed shall be right angles to the bisector of the angle and of the intersection of the street lines, provided that in no case the secretary shall determine the size and form of the chaflan. If the building is arcaded, no chaflan is required, notwithstanding the width of the public street or alley less than 12 meters. Chapter 11. Protection of pedestrians during construction or demolition. Section 1101. General requirements. No person shall use or occupy a street, alley, or public sidewalk for the performance of work covered by a building permit except in accordance with the provisions of this chapter. No person shall perform any work on any building or structure adjacent to a public way in general use for pedestrian travel unless the pedestrians are protected as specified in this chapter. Any material or structure temporarily occupying public property, including fence, canopies, and walkways, shall be adequately lighted between sunset and sunrise. Section 1102. Storage in public property. Materials and equipment necessary for work to be done under a permit when placed or stored on public property shall not obstruct free and convenient approach to and use of any fire hydrant, fire or police alarm box, utility box, catch basin, or manhole, and shall not interfere with any drainage of any street or alley gutter. Section 1103. Mixing mortar on public property. The mixing of mortar, concrete, or similar materials on public streets shall not be allowed. Section 1104. Protection of utilities. All public or private utilities above or below the ground shall be protected from any damage by any work being done under the permit. The protection shall be maintained while such work is being done and shall not obstruct the normal functioning of any such utility. Section 1105. Walkway. When the building official authorizes a sidewalk to be fenced or closed, or in case there is no sidewalk in front of the building site during construction or demolition, a temporary walkway of not less than 1.2 meters wide shall be provided. The walkway shall be capable of supporting a uniform live load of 650 kilograms per square meter. A durable wearing surface shall be provided throughout the construction period. Section 1106. Pedestrian protection. Protection required. Pedestrian traffic shall be protected by a railing on the street side when the walkway extends into the roadway, by a railing when adjacent to excavations, and by such as set forth. Railings. Adequate railings, when required, shall be built substantially strong and should be at least 1 meter in height. Fences. Fences shall be built of an approved material not less than 2.4 meters in height above grade and be placed on the side of the walkway nearest to the building site. Fences shall enclose entirely the building site. Openings in such fences shall be provided with doors which shall be kept closed all the time. Canopies. The protective canopy shall have a clear height of 2.4 meters above the railway and shall be structurally safe. Every canopy shall have a solid fence built along its entire length on the construction site. If materials are stored or work is done on top of the canopy, the edge along the street shall be protected by a tight curb board not less than 300 millimeters in height and a railing not less than 1 meter in height, and shall be provided. The entire structure shall be designed to carry the loads imposed upon it, provided that the live load shall not be less than 600 kilograms per square meter. Section 1107. Maintenance and removal of protective devices. Maintenance. All protective devices shall be properly maintained in place and kept in good order for the entire length of time pedestrians may be endangered. Removal. Every protective fence or canopy shall be removed within 30 days after such protection is no longer required as determined by the building official. Section 1108, Demolition. The work of demolishing any building shall not be commenced until all the necessary pedestrian protective structures are in place. The building official may require the permittee to submit plans, specifications, and complete schedule of demolition. When so required, no work shall be done until such plans, specifications, and schedule are approved by the building official. Chapter 12, General Design and Construction Requirements. Section 1201, General Requirements. Buildings proposed for construction shall comply with all the regulations and specifications herein set forth governing quality, characteristics and properties of materials, methods of design and construction, type of occupancy and classification. All other matters relative to the structural design of all buildings and other structures not provided for in this chapter shall conform with the provisions of the National Structural Code of Buildings, as adopted and promulgated by the Board of Civil Engineering pursuant to Republic Act No. 544 as amended, otherwise known as the Civil Engineering Law. Section 1202, Excavation, Foundation, and Retaining Walls. Subject to the provisions of Article 684 to 686 of the Civil Code of the Philippines on lateral and subjacent support, the design and quality of materials used structurally in excavation, footings, and in foundation shall conform to accepted engineering practice. Excavation and fills. Excavation or fills for buildings or structures shall be so constructed or protected by that they do not endanger life or property. Whenever the depth of excavation for any construction is such that the lateral and subjacent support of the adjoining property or existing structure thereon would be affected in a manner that the stability or safety of the same is endangered, the person undertaking or causing the excavation to be undertaken shall be responsible for the expense of underpinning or extending the foundation or footings of the aforementioned property or structure. Excavation and other similar disturbances made on public property shall, unless otherwise excluded by the building official, be restored immediately to its former condition within 48 hours from the start of such excavation and disturbances by whoever caused such excavation or disturbance. Footings, foundations, and retaining walls. Footings and foundations shall be an appropriate type of adequate size and capacity in order to safely sustain the superimposed load such as seismic or any condition or external forces that may affect the safety or stability of the structure. It shall be the responsibility of the architect and or engineer to adopt the type and design of the same in accordance with the standards set forth by the Secretary. Whenever or wherever there exists in the site of the construction an abrupt change in the ground levels or level of the foundation, such as that instability of the soil could result, retaining walls shall be provided, and such shall be of adequate design and type of construction as prescribed by the Secretary. Section 1203, Veneer. Veneer is a non-structural facing of brick, concrete, tile, metal, plastic, glass, or other similar approved materials attached to a backing or structural components of the building for the purpose of ornamentation, protection, or enclosure that may be adhered, integrated, or anchored either on the interior or exterior of the building or structure. Design requirements. The design of all veneer should comply with the following. Veneer should support no load other than its own weight and the vertical deadlock of veneer immediately above. Surfaces to which veneer is attached shall be designed to support the additional vertical and lateral loads imposed by the veneer. Consideration should be given to differential movements of the support, including those caused by temperature changes, shrinkage, creep, and deflection. Adhered veneer and its backing should be designed to have bond to the supporting elements sufficient to withstanding shearing stress due to their weights, including seismic effect on the total assemblage. Anchored veneer and its attachment shall be designed to resist horizontal forces equal to twice the weight of the veneer. Anchors, supporting, and ties shall be non-combustible and corrosion resistant. Section 1204, Enclosure of vertical openings. Vertical openings shall be enclosed depending upon the fire-resistive requirements of a particular type of construction as set forth in this code. Elevator enclosures. Walls and partitions enclosing elevators and escalators shall be of not less than the fire-resistive construction required upon under the types of construction. Enclosing walls of elevator shafts may consist of wire glass set in metal frames on the entrance side only. Elevator shaft extending through more than 2 stories should be equipped with an approved means of adequate ventilation to and through the main roof of the building, provided that in those buildings housing groups F and G occupancies equipped with the automatic fire extinguishing system throughout, enclosures shall not be required for other escalators, provided further that the top of the escalator opening at each story shall be provided with a draft curtain. Such draft curtain shall enclose the perimeter of the unenclosed opening and shall extend from the ceiling downward at least 300 millimeters on all sides. Automatic sprinklers shall be provided around the perimeter of the opening and within 600 millimeters of the draft curtain. The distance between the sprinkles and shall not be exceeding 180 meters center to center. Section 1205, Floor Construction. Other vertical openings. All shaft, ducts, chutes, and other vertical openings not covered in paragraph above shall have enclosing walls conforming to the requirements specified under the type of construction of the building in which they are located. So, ducts or air ducts passing through a floor shall be enclosed in a shaft. The shaft shall be required in this code for vertical openings. For floor construction, all floors should be such materials and construction as specified under Chapter 5 Fire Zones and Fire Resistive Standards and under Chapter 6 or Types of Construction. All floors shall be so framed and secured into the framework and supporting walls as to form an integral part of the whole building. The types of floor construction used shall provide means to keep the beam and girder from lateral buckling. Section 1206, Roof Construction and Covering. Roof covering for all buildings shall be either fire retardant or ordinary depending upon the fire resistive requirements of the particular type of construction. For roof trusses, all roofs shall be so framed and tied into the framework and supporting walls so as to form an integral part of the whole building. So attics have access and the attic access opening shall be provided in the ceiling of the top floor of the buildings with a combustible ceiling or roof construction. The opening shall be located in a corridor or hallway of the building of 3 or more story in height and readily accessible in building of any height. Area separation. Enclosed attic spaces of combustible construction shall be divided into horizontal areas not exceeding 250 square meters by fire-resistive partitions extending from the ceiling to the roof, except that where the entire attic is equipped with approved automatic fire extinguishing system, the attic space may be divided into areas not exceeding 750 square meters. Drop shafts, regardless of the type of construction, shall be installed in trusses roofs between roof and bottom chords of trusses. In all buildings exceeding 2,000 square meters, drop tops shall be constructed as for attic area separations and ventilation. Enclosed attics including rafter spaces formed where ceilings are applied direct to the underside of roof rafters shall be provided with adequate ventilation protected against the entrance of rain. Roof drainage system. Roof drains shall be installed at low points of the roof shall be adequate in size to discharge all tributary waters. Overflow drains and scoopers where roof drains are required, adequate overflow drains shall be provided. Concealed piping, roof drains, and overflow drains when concealed within the construction of the building shall be installed in accordance with the provisions of the National Plumbing Code. Over public property, roof drainage water from a building shall not be permitted to flow over the public property except for Group A and J occupancies. And lastly, flushing. Flushing and counter flushing shall be provided at the juncture of the roof and vertical surfaces. Section 1207, Stairs, Exit, and Occupant Loads. The construction of stairs and exits shall conform to the occupant load requirements of the buildings, reviewing stands, bleachers, and grandstands. Determination of occupant loads. The occupant load permitted in any building or portion thereof shall be determined by dividing the floor area assigned to that use by the unit area allowed per occupant as determined by the Secretary. Exit requirements. Exit requirements of any building or portion thereof used of different purposes shall be determined by the occupant load, which gives the largest number of persons. Posting of room capacity. Any room having an occupant load of more than 50 where fixed seats are not installed and which is used for classroom, assembly, or similar purpose shall have the capacity of the room posted in a conspicuous place near the main exit from the room. Lastly, changes in elevation. Except in Group A occupancies, changes in floor elevations of less than 300 mm along any exit serving a tributary occupant load of 10 or more shall be means of ramp. Exits. Number of exits. Every building or usable portion thereof shall have at least one exit. In all occupancies, floor above the first story having an occupant load of more than 10 shall not have less than 2 exits. Width. The total width of exit in meters shall not be less than the total occupant load served divided by 165. Such width of exits shall be divided approximately equally among the separate exits. Arrangement of exits. If two only exits are required, they shall be placed a distance apart to not less than 1/5 of the perimeter of the area served measured in a straight line between exits. And distance to exits. No point in a building without a sprinkler system shall be more than 45 meters from an exterior exit door, a horizontal exit, exit passageway, or an enclosed stairway measured along the line of travel. Doors. The provision herein shall apply to every exit door serving an area having an occupant load of more than 10 or serving hazardous rooms or areas. Swing. Exit doors shall swing in direction of exit travel when serving any hazardous area or when serving an occupant load of 50 or more. In case of double acting doors shall not be used as exits serving a tributary occupant load of more than 100, nor shall they be used as part of the fire assembly nor equipped with panic hardware. Types of lock or latch. Exit doors shall be openable from the inside without any use of key or any special knowledge or effort, except that this requirement shall not comply to exterior exit doors in Group E or F. Width and height. Every required exit doorway shall be of size as to permit the installation of door not less than 900 mm in width and not less than 2 meters in height when installed in exit doorways. Exit doors shall be capable of opening at least 90 degrees and shall be so mounted that the clear width of the exitway is not less than 700 mm. Door lift width. No lift of an exit door shall exceed 1.2 meters in width. Special doors. Revolving, sliding, and overhead doors shall not be used as required exits. Egress from door. Every required exit door shall give immediate access to an approved means of egress from the building. Change in floor level at doors. Regardless of the occupant load, there shall be a floor or landing on each side of an exit door. Door identification. Glass doors shall conform to the requirements in section 1805. Other exit doors shall be so marked that they are readily distinguishable from the adjacent construction. Additional doors. When additional doors are provided for egress purposes, they shall conform to all provisions in the following cases. Approved revolving doors having leaves, which will collapse under opposing pressures, may be used in exit situations, provided that such doors have a minimum width of 2 meters or they are not in use in occupancies where exit are required to be equipped with panic hardware or at least one conforming exit door is located adjacent to each revolving doors installed in a building, and the revolving door shall not be considered to provide may exit width. Corridors and exterior exit balconies. The provision herein shall apply to every corridor and exterior exit balcony serving as a required exit for an occupant load of more than 10. Width. Every corridor or exit balcony shall not be less than 1.1 meters in width. The required width of corridors and exterior exit balconies shall be unobstructed except that the trim handrails and the rolls, where fully opened, shall not reduce the required width by more than 200 millimeters. Doors in any position shall not require the width of the corridor by more than one-half. When more than one exit is required, they shall be so arranged to allow going to either direction from any point in the corridor or exterior exit balcony to a separate exit except for dead ends permitted by this code. Dead ends. Corridors and exterior exit balconies with dead ends are permitted when the dead end does not exceed 6 meters in length, and the construction, walls, and ceilings of corridors shall not be less than 1 R fire-resistive construction, provided that this requirement shall not apply to exterior exit balconies, railings, and corridors of one-story building housing a Group E and F occupancy occupied by one tenant only, in which serves an occupant load of 30 or less, nor to corridors formed by temporary partitions. Openings. Where corridor walls are required by 1R fire-resistant construction, every interior door opening be protected as set forth in generally recognized and acceptable requirements for dual-purpose fire exit doors. Stairways. Except stairs or ladder used only to access equipment, every stairway serving any building or portion thereof shall conform to the following requirements. Stairways serving an occupant load of more than 50 shall not be less than 1.1 meters. Stairways serving occupant load of 50 or less may be 900 millimeters wide. Private stairways serving an occupant load of less than 10 may be 750 millimeters. Trim and handrails shall not reduce the required width by more than 100 millimeters. The rise of every step in stairway shall not exceed 200 millimeters and the run shall not be less than 250 millimeters. The maximum variation in height or rises and the width of tread in any flight shall be 5 millimeters, except in any case of private stairways serving an occupant load of less than 10, the rise may be 200 millimeters and the run may be 250 millimeters, except as provided in subparagraph 3 below. Winding stairways. In Group A occupancy and in private stairways in Group B occupancies, winders may be used if the required width of run is provided at a point not more than 300 millimeters from the side of the stairways, where the treads are narrower, but in no case shall any width of run be less than 150 millimeters at any point. Circular stairs may be used as an exit provided the minimum width of run not less than 250 millimeters and all treads in any one flight between landings shall have identical dimensions within a 5 millimeter tolerance. Every landing shall have a dimension measured in the direction of travel equals to width of a stairway. Where a basement stairway and a stairway to an upper story terminate in the same exit enclosure, an approved barrier shall be provided to prevent the person from continuing to the basements. Directional exit signs shall be provided as specified in this code. There shall be no more than 3.6 meters vertical distance between landings. And lastly, handrails. Stairways shall have handrails on each side, and every stairway required to be more than 3 meters in width shall be provided with not less than one intermediate handrail for each 3 meters of required width. Exterior stairway protection. All openings in the exterior wall below or within 3 meters measured horizontally of an exterior exit stairway serving a building over 2 story in height shall be protected by a self-closing fire assembly having 3/4 R fire resistive rating, except that the openings may be unprotected when 2 separate exterior stairways serve an exterior exit balcony. Stairway construction. Interior stairway shall be constructed as specified in this code. Exterior stairway shall be incombustible materials, except that the type 3 buildings which do not exceed 2 story in height, which are located in less fire-restrictive fire zones, as well as on type 1 buildings which may be of wood not less than 50 millimeters in nominal thickness. In every building 4 or more stories in height, 1 stairway shall extend to the roof unless the roof has C-slope greater than 1 in 3. Every required stairway shall have a headroom clearance of not less than 2 meters. Such clearance shall be established by measuring vertically from the plane panel and tangent to the stairway, tread nosing to the soffit above all points. Ramps. A ramp conforming to the provision of this code may be used as an exit. The width of ramps shall be required for corridors. If conforming to the provision of this code, a horizontal exit may be considered as the required exit. All openings in a separation wall shall be protected by a fire assembly having a fire resistive rating of not less than 1 R. Every interior stairway, ramp, or escalator shall be enclosed as specified in this code, except that in other than Group D occupancies, an enclosure will not be required for stairway, ramp, or escalator serving only one adjacent floor and not connected with corridors or stairways serving other floors. Stairs in Group A occupancies need not be enclosed. Enclosure walls shall not be less than 2 R fire resistive construction. There shall be no opening into exit enclosure except exit doorways and opening in exterior walls. All exit doors in an exit enclosure shall be appropriately protected. Stairway and ramp enclosure shall include landings and part of the floors connecting in stairway flights and shall include a corridor on the ground floor leading from the stairway to the exterior of the building. A stairway in an exit enclosure shall not continue below the grade level exit unless an approved barrier is provided at the ground floor level to prevent person from accidentally continuing into the basement. There shall be no enclosed usable space under the stairways in an exit enclosure, nor shall the open space under such stairways be used for any purpose. Smoke-proof enclosures. A smoke-proof enclosure shall consist of vestibule and continuous stairways enclosed from highest point to lowest point by walls of 2R fire-resistive construction. Stairs in smoke-proof enclosure shall be in combustible construction. There shall be no openings in smoke-proof enclosure except exit doorways and opening in exterior walls. The opening from the building to the vestibule or balcony shall be protected with a self-closing fire assembly having 1R fire-resistive rating. A smoke-proof enclosure shall exit into public way or into an exit passageway leading to a public way. Lastly, a stairway in a smoke-proof enclosure shall not continue below the grade level exit unless an approved barrier is provided at the ground floor level to prevent person from accidentally walking into the basement. Exit outlets, courts, and passageways. Every exit shall discharge into a public way, exit court, or exit passageways. Width. Every exit court and exit passageway shall be at least as wide as the required total width of the tributary exits, such required width being based on the occupant load served. The slope of exit courts shall not exceed 1 in 10. Every exit court shall be provided with exits as long as is in this code. All openings into an exit court less than 3 meters wide shall be protected by a fire assembly having not less than 3/4 R fire resistive rating. Exit signs and illuminations. Exit shall be illuminated at any time in the building is occupied with lights having an intensity of not less than 10.7 lux at floor level, except that for Group A occupancies, the exit illumination shall be provided with separate circuits or separated sources of power, but not necessarily separate from exit signs where these are required for exit sign illumination. Aisles. Every portion or every building in which are installed seats, table, merchandise, equipments, or similar materials shall be provided with aisles leading to an exit. Every aisle shall be not less than 800 millimeters wide if serving only one side, and not less than 1 meter wide if serving both sides. In areas occupied by seats and in Group H and I occupancies without seats, the line of travel to an exit door by an aisle shall be no more than 45 meters. Aisles shall terminate in cross aisles, foyer, or exits. The width of cross aisles shall not be less than the sum of the required width with widest aisle plus 50% of the total required width of the remaining aisle leading thereto. Vomitories connecting the foyer or main exit with the cross aisle shall have a total width not less than the sum of required width of the widest aisle leading thereto plus 50% of the total required width of the remaining aisle leading thereto. The slope portion of aisle shall not exceed a fall of 1 in 8. Seats. With standard seating, the spacing of row of seats from back to back shall not be less than 840 millimeters. With continental seating, the spacing of rows of unoccupied seats shall provide a clear width measured horizontally as follows: 450 millimeters clear for rows of 18 seats or less, 500 millimeters clear for rows of 35 seats or less, 525 millimeters clear for rows of 45 seats or less, and 550 millimeters clears for rows of 46 seats or more. The width of any seat shall be not less than 450 millimeters. Reviewing stands, grandstands, and bleachers. Stands made by combustible framing shall be limited to 10 rows or 2.7 meters in height. The minimum unit load for reviewing stands, grandstands, and bleachers shall be 500 kilograms per square meter of horizontal projection for structure as a whole. Spacing of seats. The minimum spacing of rows of seats measured from back to back shall be 600 millimeters for seats without backrest. In open air stands, 750 millimeters for seats with backrest and 850 millimeters for chair seating. There shall be a space of not less than 300 millimeters between the back of each seat and the front of the seat immediately behind it. The maximum rise from one row of seat to the next shall not exceed 400 millimeters. Seating capacity. For determining the seating capacity of a stand, the width of any seat shall not be less than 450 millimeters nor more than 480 millimeters. Number of seats between aisles. The number of seats between aisles shall not be greater than 15 for more open-air stands with seats without backrests. A far open-air stand with seats having backrest and seats without backrest within the building, and 6 seats with backrest in the building. Aisle shall be provided in all stands except that aisle may be omitted when all the following conditions exist. Seats are without backrest and rise from row to row does not exceed 300 millimeters per row. The number of rows does not exceed 11 in height and the top seating board is not over 3 meters above grade. And the first seating board is not more than 500 millimeters above grade. No obstruction shall be placed in the required width of any aisle or exitways. When an aisle is elevated more than 200 millimeters above grade, the aisle shall be provided with stairways or ramp whose width is not less than the width of the aisle. No vertical aisle shall have a dead end more than 16 rows in depth, regardless of number of exits required. Aisle shall have a minimum width of 1.1 meters. Stairs and ramps. The required in this code shall apply to all stairs and ramps except for portions that pass through the seating area. Stair, rise, and run. The maximum rise of tread shall not exceed 200 millimeters and the minimum width of the run shall be 280 millimeters. A ramp with a slope exceeding 1 in 10 shall have a handrail. Stairs for stand shall have a handrails. Handrail shall conform to the requirements of this code. Guardrails shall be required in all locations where the top of the seat plank is more than 1.2 meters above the grade and at the front of the stand elevated more than 600 millimeters above grade. Railing shall be 1.1 meter above the rear of the seat plank or 1.5 meters above the rear of the steps in an aisle when the guardrail is parallel and adjacent to an aisle, except that the height may be reduced to 900 millimeters for guardrails located in front of the grandstand. A mid-rail shall be placed adjacent to any seat to limit the open distance above the top of part of the seat to 250 millimeters where the seat is at the extreme end or at the extreme rear of the bleachers or grandstand. Footboard shall be provided for all rows of seat above the third row or beginning at such a point where the seating plank is more than 600 millimeters above grade. Exits. The line of travel to an exit shall not exceed more than 45 meters. For stand with seats without back seats, this distance may be measured by direct line from a seat to the exit from the stand. An aisle may be reconsidered as only one exit unless it is continuous at both ends to a legal building exit or to a safe dispersal area. A stand with first seating board not more than 500 millimeters above grade of floor may be considered to have two exits when the bottom of the stand is open at both ends. Every stand or section of a stand within a building shall have at least two means of egress when the stand accommodates more than 50 persons. 3 exits required. 3 exits shall be required for stands within a building when there are more than 300 occupants within a stand and for an air stand with seats without backrest where a stand or section of stand accommodates more than 1,000 occupants. 4 exits shall be required when a stand or section of a stand accommodates more than 1,000 occupants, except that for an open air stand with seats without backrest, 4 exits need not be provided unless there are accommodation for more than 3,000 occupants. The total width of exit in meters shall not be less than the total occupant load served divided by 165, except that for open air stand with seats without backrest, the total width of exits in meters shall not be less than the total occupant load served divided by 500 when exiting by stairs and divided by 650 when exiting by ramps or horizontally. Securing of chairs. Chairs and benches used on raised stands shall be secured to the platforms upon which they are placed, except that when less than 25 chairs are used upon a single raised platform, the fastening of seats to the platform may be omitted. When more than 500 loose chairs are used in connection with the athletic events, chairs shall be fastened together in groups of not less than 3 and shall be tied or staked to the ground. Safe dispersal area. Each safe dispersal area shall have at least 2 exits. If more than 6,000 persons are to be accommodated within an area, there shall be a minimum of 3 exits. And for more than 9,000 persons, there shall be a minimum of 4 exits. Special hazards. Except in Group A occupancies, every boiler room and every room containing an incinerator or liquefied petroleum gas or liquid fuel fired equipment shall be provided with at least 2 means of egress, one of which may be a ladder. All interior openings shall be protected as provided for in this code. Cellulose nitrate handling. Film laboratories, projection rooms, and nitrocellulose processing rooms shall have not less than 2 exits. Section 1208, Skylights. All skylights shall be constructed with metal frames except those for groups A and J occupancies. Frames of skylights shall be designed to carry loads required for roofs. All skylights, the glass of which is set at an angle of less than 45 degrees from the horizontal if located above the first story, should be set at least 100 millimeters above the roof. Spacing between supports in one direction for flat wired glass in skylight shall not exceed 625 millimeters. Corrugated wired glass may have supports of 1.5 meters apart in the direction of the corrugation. Skylights installed for use of photographers may be constructed of metal frames and plate glass without wire netting. Ordinary glass may be used in the roof and skylight for greenhouse, provided that the height of the greenhouse at the ridge does not exceed 6 meters above the grade. Glass used for transmission of light if placed in floors or sidewalks shall be supported by metal or reinforced concrete frames, and such glass shall not be less than 12.5 millimeters in thickness. Any such glass over 100 square centimeters in area shall have wire mesh embodied in the same or shall be provided with a wire screen underneath as specified for skylights in this code. Section 1209, Bays, Porches, and Balconies. Walls and floors in a bay and oriel windows shall conform to the construction allowed for exterior walls and floors of the type of construction of the building to which they are attached. The roof covering of a bay or oriel window shall conform to the requirements of the roofing of the main roof. Exterior balconies attached to and or supported by a wall required to be of masonry shall have brackets or beams constructed of incombustible materials. Railings shall be provided for balconies, landings, or porches which are more than 750 millimeters above grade. Section 1210, Penthouses and Roof Structures. No penthouse or other projection above the roof in structure of other than Type 5 construction shall exceed 8.4 meters above the roof when used as an enclosure for tanks or for elevators which run to the roof, and in all other cases shall not extend more than 3.6 meters in height with the roof. The aggregate area of all penthouses and other roof structure shall not exceed one-third of the area of the supporting roof. No penthouse, bulkhead, or any other similar projection above the roofs shall be used for purposes other than shelter or mechanical equipments or shelter of vertical shaft openings in a roof. Roof structure shall be constructed with walls, floors, and roof as required for the main portion of the building except in the following cases. On Type 3 and 4 construction, the exterior walls and roof of penthouses which are 1.5 meters or more from an adjacent property line may be 1R fire-resistive in combustible construction. Walls not less than 1.5 meters from an exterior wall of Type 4 construction may be 1R fire-resistive in combustible construction. The above restriction shall not prohibit the placing of wood flagpoles or similar structures on the roof of any building. Towers and spires, when enclosed, shall have exterior walls as required for the building to which they are attached. Towers are not enclosed and which extend more than 20 meters above the grade shall have their framework constructed of iron, steel, or reinforced concrete. No such skeleton towers shall be supported on roof of combustible framings. They shall be designed to withstand a wind load from any direction in addition to any other loads. Section 1211, Chimneys, Fireplace, and Barbecues. Chimneys. Chimneys shall be designed, anchored, supported, reinforced, constructed, and installed in accordance with generally accepted principles of engineering. Every masonry chimney shall have walls of masonry units, bricks, stones, listed masonry chimney units, reinforced concrete or equivalent solid thickness of hollow masonry, and lined with suitable liners in accordance with the following requirements. Masonry chimney for residential type appliances. Masonry chimney shall be constructed of masonry units or reinforced concrete with walls not less than 100 mm thick, or of durable stone masonry not less than 300 mm thick. Masonry chimney for low heat appliances. Masonry chimney shall be constructed of masonry units or reinforced concrete with walls not less than 200 mm thick except that the rubble stone masonry shall be not less than 300 millimeters thick. The chimney liner shall be in accordance with this code, the same as the other masonry chimneys. Masonry chimney for medium heat appliances. Masonry chimney for medium heat appliances shall be constructed of solid masonry units of reinforced concrete not less than 200 millimeters thick, except that the stone masonry shall be not less than 300 millimeters thick and in addition shall be lined with not less than 100 millimeters of fire brick laid in solid bed of fire clay mortar with solidly filled head, bed, and wall joints starting not less than 600 millimeters below the chimney connector entrance. For masonry chimney for high heat appliances, masonry chimney for high heat appliances shall be constructed with double walls of solid masonry units or reinforced concrete not less than 200 millimeters in thickness, with an airspace of not less than 50 millimeters between walls. Masonry chimney for incinerators installed in multi-story buildings or apartment-type incinerators. Chimneys for incinerators installed in this building using the chimney passageway as a refuse chute where the horizontal grate area of combustible chamber does not exceed 0.8 square meters shall have a walls of solid masonry or reinforced concrete, not less than 100 millimeters thick with a chimney lining as specified in this code. Masonry chimneys for commercial and industrial type incinerators. Masonry chimney for commercial and industrial type incinerators of a size designed for not more than 110 kilograms of refuse per hour and having a horizontal grate area not exceeding 0.5 square meter shall have a wall of solid masonry or reinforced concrete not less than 100 millimeters thick with lining of not less than 100 millimeters of fire brick, which lining shall extend for not less than 12 meters above the roof of the combustible chamber. Linings. Fire clay chimney lining shall not be less than 15 millimeters thick. No chimney passageway shall be smaller in area than the vent connection of the appliance attached thereto. Every masonry chimney shall extend at least 600 millimeters above the part of the roof through which it passes and at least 600 millimeters above the highest elevation of any part of the building within 3 meters to the chimney. No masonry chimney shall be corbelled from a wall more than 150 millimeters, nor shall a masonry chimney be corbelled from a wall which is less than 300 millimeters in thickness, unless it projects equally on each side of the wall. In the second story of a two-story building of Group A occupancy, corbelling of masonry chimney on exterior of the enclosing walls may be equal the wall thickness. No change in the size or shape of masonry chimney shall be made within a distance of 150 millimeters above or below the roof joints or rafters where the chimney passes through the roof. When more than one passageway is contained in the same chimney, masonry separation at least 100 millimeters thick bonded into the masonry wall of the chimney shall be provided two separate passageways. Every inlet to any masonry chimney shall enter the side thereof and shall be of not less than 3 millimeters thick metal or 16 millimeters refractory material. Combustible material shall not be placed within 50 millimeters of smoke chamber or masonry chimney walls when built within a structure, or within 25 millimeters when the chimney is built entirely outside the structure. An incinerator chimney shall terminate in substantially constructed spark arrestor having a mesh not exceeding 20 millimeters, and a clean-out opening shall be provided at the base of every masonry chimney. Fireplaces and barbecues. Fireplaces, barbecues, smoke chambers, and fireplace chimneys shall be in solid masonry or reinforced concrete and shall conform to the minimum requirements specified in this code. Walls of fireplaces shall not be less than 200 millimeters in thickness. Walls of the firebox shall not be less than 250 millimeters in thickness, except that when a lining of the fire brick is used, such walls shall not be less than 200 millimeters in thickness. For hoods, metal hoods used as part of the fireplace or barbecue shall not be less than number 18 gauge copper, galvanized iron, or other equivalent corrosion-resistant ferrous metal with all seams and connections of smoke-proof unsoldered construction. Circulators. Approved metal heat circulators may be installed in fireplaces. Front and side walls shall not be less than 200 millimeters in thickness. Walls of chimneys without flue lining shall not be less than 200 millimeters in thickness. Clearance to combustible materials. Combustible materials shall not be placed within 50 millimeters of fireplace, smoke chamber, or chimney walls when built entirely within a structure, or within 25 millimeters when the chimney is built entirely outside the structure. The net cross-sectional area of the flue and of the throat between the firebox and the smoke chamber of a fireplace shall not be less than the requirements to be set forth by the Secretary. Masonry over the fireplace open shall be supported by a non-combustible lintel. Every fireplace shall be provided with a brick, concrete, stone, or other approved non-combustible hearth slab at least 300 millimeters wider on each side than the fireplace opening and projecting at least 450 millimeters therefrom. Section 1212 Fire Extinguishing System. Fire extinguishing systems were required. Standard automatic fire extinguishing system shall be installed in the following places and in the manner provided in this code: in every story, basement, or cellar with an area of 200 square meters or more, which is used for habitation, recreation, dining, study, or work, and which has an occupant load of more than 20. In all dressing rooms, rehearsal rooms, workshop, or factories, and other rooms with an occupant load of more than 10, or assembly halls under Group H and I occupancies with an occupant load of more than 500, and if the next doors of said rooms are more than 30 meters from the nearest safe fire dispersal area of the building or opening to an exit court or street. And lastly, in all rooms used for storage or handling of photographic, X-ray, nitrocellulose films, and other inflammable articles. Dry standpipes. Every building 4 or more stories in height shall be equipped with 1 or more dry standpipes. Construction and test. Dry standpipes shall be of wrought iron or galvanized steel, and together wired fittings and connections shall be sufficient strength to withstand 20 kilograms per square centimeter of water pressure when ready for service without leaking at the joints, bulbs, or fittings. For size, dry standpipes shall be of such size to be capable of delivering 900 liters of water per minute from each of any 3 outlets simultaneously under the pressure created by one fire engine or pumper based on the standard equipment available. Lastly, number required: every building 4 or more stories in height where the area of any floor above the third floor is 950 square meters or less shall be equipped with at least one dry standpipe, and an additional standpipe shall be installed for each additional 950 square meters or fraction thereof. Location. Standpipes shall be located within enclosed stairway landings or near such stairways as possible, or immediately inside of an exterior wall, and within 300 millimeters of an opening in a stairway enclosure of the balcony or vestibule of a smoke-proof tower or an outside exit stairway. Siamese connection. Subject to the provision of subparagraph 2, all 100 millimeters dry standpipes shall be equipped with a two-way Siamese fire department connections. All 125 millimeters dry standpipe shall be equipped with a three-way Siamese fire department connection, and 150 millimeters dry standpipe shall be equipped with a four-way Siamese fire department connections. All standpipes shall extend from the ground to the floor and to over the roof, and shall be equipped with a 63 millimeters outlet no more than 1.2 meters above the floor level at each story, and the sign, an iron or bronze sign with raised letters at least 25 millimeters high, shall be rigidly attached to the building adjacent to all Siamese connection, and such signs shall read, "Connection to dry standpipe." Section 1213 Stages and Platforms. Stage ventilators. There shall be one or more ventilators constructed of metal or other incombustible material near the center and above the highest part of any working stage, raised above the stage roof, and having a total ventilation area equal to at least 5% of the floor area within the stage walls. Opening action. Ventilators shall open by spring action or force of gravity sufficient to overcome the effects of neglect, rust, dirt, or expansion by heat or warping of the framework. Glass, if used in ventilators, must be protected against falling on a stage. A wire screen, if used under the glass, must be so placed that if clogged, it cannot produce the required ventilating area or interfere with the operating mechanism or obstruct the distribution of water from the automatic fire extinguishing systems. Ventilators, penthouses, and supporting framework shall be designed in accordance to this code. Springs, when employed to actuate ventilator doors, shall be capable of maintaining full required tension indefinitely. Location of fusible links. A fusible link shall be placed in a cable control system on the underside of the ventilator at or above the roof line or as approved by the building official, and shall be so located at so not to affect by the operational of the fire extinguishing system. Remote manual or electrical control shall provide for both opening and closing of the ventilator doors for periodic testing and shall be located at a point on the stage designated by the building official. Gridirons. Gridirons, fly galleries, and pin rails shall be constructed of incombustible materials and fire protection of steel and iron may be omitted. Gridirons and fly galleries shall be designed to support a live load of not less than 367 kilograms per square meters. The main counterweight sheave beam shall be designed to support a horizontal and vertical uniformly distributed live load sufficient to accommodate the weight imposed by the total number of loft blocks in the gridirons. In a building having a stage, the dressing room section, workshop, and storeroom should be located on the stage side of the proscenium wall and shall be separated from each other and from the stage by not less than 1 hour fire resistive occupancy separation. A stage shall be completely separated from the auditorium by a proscenium wall of not less than 2 hour incombustible construction. Stage floor. The type of construction for stage floor shall depend on the requirements based on the type of occupancy and the corresponding fire resistive requirements. For platforms, the type of construction for platforms shall depend upon the requirements based on the type of occupancy and the corresponding fire resistive requirements. For stage exits, at least one exit not less than 900 mm wide shall be provided from each side of the stage opening directly or by other means of passageway not less than 900 mm in width to a street or exit court. Section 1214 Motion Picture Projection Rooms General Requirements. The provision of this section shall apply only when the ribbon-type motion picture films in excess 22 mm width and electric projection equipments are used. Every motion picture machine using ribbon-type film in excess of 22 mm width and electric arc projection equipments together with all electrical devices, rheostats, machines, and all such films present in any group C, I, or H occupancy shall be enclosed in a projection room large enough to permit the operator to walk freely on the either side and back of the machine. For construction, every projection room shall be of not less than 1 hour fire-resistive construction throughout and the walls and ceiling shall be finished with incombustible materials. Every projection room shall have at least 2 doorways separated by not less than 1/3 the perimeter of the room, each at least 750 mm wide and 2 meters high. And ports and openings in projection room walls shall be of 3 kinds: projection ports, observation ports, and combination ports used for both observation and for stereopticon, spot or floodlight machines. Ports required. There shall be provided for each motion picture projection not more than one projection port, which shall be limited to an area of 750 square centimeters, and not more than one observation port, which shall be limited in an area to 1,300 square centimeters. There shall be not more than 3 combination ports, each of which shall not exceed 750 mm by 600 mm. Each port and every other opening in projection room walls, including any fresh air inlets but excluding exit doors and exhaust dust, shall be provided with a shutter of not less than 2.4 mm thick sheet metal or its equivalent large enough to overlap at least 25 mm on all sides of such openings. For ventilation, inlet, a fresh air inlet from the exterior of the building not less than 900 square centimeters and protected with wire netting shall be installed within 50 millimeters of the floor in every projection room, the source of which shall be remote from other outside vents or flues. For outlets, ventilation shall be provided by one or more mechanical exhaust systems which shall be drawing air from each arc lamp housing to outdoors, either directly or through an incombustible flue used for no other purposes. Regulation of equipments. All shelves, fixtures, and fixed equipments in a projection room shall be constructed of incombustible materials All films not in actual use shall be stored in metal cabinets having individual compartments for reels or shall be in generally accepted shipping containers. No solder shall be used in construction of such cabinets. Section 1215 Lathing, plastering, and installation of wallboards. The installation of lath, plaster, and gypsum wall boards shall conform to the fire resistive rating requirements and the type of construction of building.
Good day everyone, I'm Christopher P. Quijano and I'm the reporter of Chapter 13 to 21. Magtungo na tayo sa Chapter 13 o ang Electrical and Mechanical Regulation. Section 1301 o ang Electrical Regulation, nakasaad dito na ang lahat ng mga system, kagamitan at instalasyon ng kuryente na binanggit sa code na ito ay dapat sumusunod sa mga probisyon ng Philippine Electrical Code. Ayon sa tinakda ng Board of Electrical Engineering, alinsunod sa Republic Act No. 184 o mas kilala bilang Electrical Engineering Law. Section 1302, ang Mechanical Regulation. Ang ibig sabihin naman nito ay ang lahat ng mga system, kagamitan at instalasyon na may kinalaman sa mechanical technology na binangkit sa code na ito ay kailangan sumunod sa mga alituntunin ng Philippine Mechanical Engineering Code. Ang mga alituntunin ay itinakda ng Board of Mechanical Engineering sa ilalim ng Commonwealth Act 294 na amendahan at mas kilala bilang Mechanical Engineering Law. Layunin nito na tiyakin ang kaligtasan, kalidad at maayos na operasyon ng mga sistema at kagamitan sa larangan ng mechanical engineering. Magtungo naman tayo sa Chapter 14 o Photographic and X-ray Films. Chapter 1401 o ang Storage and Handling. Ang mga imbakan ng hindi pa nagagamit na photographic at X-ray films ay kinakailangang mayroong automatic system ng pamatay sunog sa mga sumusunod na kaso. Number 1. Kapag ang kabuuang dami na hindi pa nagagamit na films sa ligtas na lalagyan ay lumagpas sa 14 cubic meters. Number 2. Kapag ang mga shelf na ginagamit sa pag-iimbak ng individual na mga package sa hindi nasabing ligtas na lalagyan ay lumagpas sa 1.40 cubic meters ang kapasidad. Number 3. Kapag ang pag-iimbak ay hindi na sa ligtas na lalagyan sa anumang bahagi na hindi lalampas sa 14 cubic meters. Ang mga film negatives na nakaimbak o hinahawakan ay hindi dapat ilagay sa makapal na Manila envelope at hindi dapat hihigit sa 12 films bawat envelope. Hindi maaaring gumamit ng expanding envelopes. Letter C. Ang mga film negatives ay hindi dapat ilagay sa maayos na insulated o ventilated cabinet, ventilated storage vaults o mga imbakan sa labas. Hindi dapat hihigit sa 110 kilograms ang may imbak sa isang cabinet. Kapag ang dami ng mga naimbak na films ay lumagpas sa 40 kilograms, ito ay dapat ilagay sa ventilated storage vaults o sa isang hiwalay na struktura o roof vault. Ang mga pintuan ng vault ay dapat may 4 na oras na fire-resistive na construction at dapat palaging nakasarado maliban kung ginagamit. Letter D. Tanging incandescent light lamang ang pahintulutan at hindi dapat ito protektado na matibay na wireguard o vapor-proof gloves o pareho. Hindi pinapayagan ng mga portable na ilaw na may extension cords. Dapat din may malinaw na nakalagay na no smoking na karatula. Letter E. Ang mga films ay hindi dapat naiimbak sa loob ng 600 mm ng mga steam pipes o chimneys o iba pang pinagkukunan ng init. Dapat din mayroon first aid na kagamitan na gumagamit ng tubig o water solution. Ang mga itinatapon na films ay dapat itago at hawakan na kapareho sa iba pang films hanggang sa maalis ito sa lugar. Section 14 o Classes of Film Exempted. Ang mga alituntunin sa seksyong ito ay hindi inaangkop sa mga sumusunod. Mga film na ginagamit ng mga amateur na photographer na nasa original na packaging ng roll at film pack at may dami na mas mababa sa 1.4 cubic meters. Mga safety film, mga dental x-ray film, mga paggawaan ng photographic films at ang kanilang imbakan. At mga films na nakaimbak o ginagamit sa mga standard na mga motion picture booths. Ang safety photographic X-ray film ay maaari makilala sa pamamagitan ng marka na makita sa gilid ng film. Section 1403 o ang Fire Extinguishing System. Lahat ng fire extinguishing system ay dapat sumusunod sa uri, espesipikasyon, at paraan ng pag-i-install na naayon sa mga kinakailangan ng kalihim. Magtungo naman tayo sa Chapter 15. Section 1501, Prefabricated Assembly. Letter A. Ang prefabricated assembly, ito ay tumutukoy sa isang unit ng estruktura na buo o bahagi ng gusali na nabuo o na-assemble bago ito isama sa gusali. Halimbawa nito ay ang mga bahagi ng pader, sahig o iba pang structural units na ginawa na sa labas ng lugar ng konstruksyon at dadalhin na lamang doon para ikabit. Letter B. Ang kalihim ay magtakda ng special na pagsusuri para matiyak ang tibay, kalakasan, proteksyon sa panahon at kakayahang makatiis ng apoy ng mga prefabricated assemblies. Layunin nito na masiguro na ang mga ganitong uri ng materyales ay ligtas at matibay kapag ginamit sa gusali. Letter C. Ang mga koneksyon o sistema para pagdikitin ang mga prefabricated assemblies ay dapat kayang magbigay ng sapat na lakas para sa iba't ibang bahagi na nagkonektado bilang isang buo at matatag na structure. Ang mga elemento ng koneksyon at ang pagdikit sa mga pader o suporta ay dapat kayang tiisin ang lahat ng posibleng puwersa o force mula sa loob at labas ng istruktura. Dapat din tiyakin na may tamang espasyo para sa mga materyales na maaaring kailanganin, alisin o i-adjust para sa paglalagay ng mga tubo, conduits at iba pang mga kagamitan. Letter D. Ang pagkakabit ng prefabricated assemblies ay dapat suriin upang matiyak na sumusunod ito sa mga alituntunin. Layunin ng pagsusuri ito na matiyak na maayos at tama ang pagkakabit ng mga prefabricated assemblies na bahagi ng gusali para sa kaligtasan at katatagan ng structure. Magtungo naman tayo sa Chapter 16. Plastics. Section 1601 o Approved Plastics. Ito ay nagtatakda ng mapamantayan para sa mga plastic materials na itinuturing na ligtas na gamitin sa mga sitwasyon kung saan magkaroon ng apoy. Ayon sa section na ito, ang mga plastic na approved ay dapat magkakaroon ng tiyak na mga katangian upang matiyak ang kaligtasan ng mga ito sa usaping pangkaligtasan sa sunog. Section 1602. Installation. Letter A. Structural requirement. Dapat ang lahat ng plastic na materyales ay may sapat na lakas at tibay upang makatiis sa mga itinakdang disenyo at bigat. Kailangan magbigay ng sapat at concrete tungkol sa mga stress, pinakamahabang hindi suportang distansya o not supported distance at iba pang impormasyon na kinakailangan para sa iba't ibang kapal at anyo ng plastics. Pagkakabit. Ang mga pagkakabit ay dapat sapat upang makatiis ng mga itinakdang bigat at sa mga internal at external stress na hinihingi ng kabuuan. Dapat din isaalang-alang ang tamang pag-ayon ng plastic sa iba pang materyales na kasama nito sa pagkabuo. Sa Section 1603 o Glazing of Opening, dito naman tinatalakay ang mga patakaran ukol sa mga paglalagay ng salamin o plastic sa mga bukasan ng mga pinto, bintana at iba pang frame openings sa mga panlabas na pader ng mga gusali, maliban sa Type 4 at Type 5 na konstruksyon. Sa Section 1604 o Skylights naman, tinatalakay naman dito ang mga regulasyon tungkol sa mga skylight na ginagamit sa mga bubong ng mga gusali, particular sa Type 1, 2, at 3 na konstruksyon. In general, pinapayagan ang paggamit ng mga approved plastics sa skylights na bubong na mga nabanggit sa uri ng construction. Gayunpaman, kinakailangan ng mga gusali na ito ay mayroong automatic system sa pag-apula ng mga apoy, lalo na sa mga particular na kategorya ng paggamit. Sa allowable areas naman, ang mga bawat skylights na gawa sa plastic ay hindi dapat lumampas sa 10.00 square meters. Bukod dito, ang kabuuang lugar ng lahat ng plastic na ginagamit sa mga skylights, monitor at sawtooth glazing ay hindi dapat lumagpas sa 20% ng floor area ng silid o espasyong nasa ilalim nito. Curb requirement. Para sa mga plastic skylight sa mga bubong na may slope na mas mababa sa 1:3, kinakailangan na 100 mm sa taas ng curb. Maaari naman tanggalin ang curb kung mayroong wire screen na hindi dapat na mas maliit sa number 12 US gauge at may mesh na hindi mas malaki sa 25 mm na nakalagay sa agad sa ilalim ng skylight. Dapat itong matibay na nakalagay upang masiguro ang kaligtasan. Sa Section 1605 o Light Transmitting Panels in Monitor and Sawtooth Roof, dito naman tinatalakay ang paggamit ng light transmitting panel sa mga monitor at sawtooth roof. In general, hindi kinakailangan ng fire resistive rating ang bubong at sa mga gusaling may otomatikong sistema ng pag-apulan apoy. Pinapayagan ang paggamit ng approved plastic bilang light transmitting medium. Gayunpaman, para sa Type 2 construction, ang mga plastic na ginagamit ay dapat may tamang katangian laban sa pagkalat ng apoy. Letter B. Ang plastic glazing sa monitor at sawtooth roof ay hindi dapat lumampas sa 15 square meters. Ang kabuuang area ng plastic sa skylights, monitor, sawtooth roof glazing ay hindi dapat higit sa 20% ng floor area ng silid. Ang mga plastic panel ay dapat nakahiwalay sa isa't isa gamit ang hindi madaling masunog na material o bahagi ng roofing material na hindi bababa sa 1.5 meters ang haba. Dapat din na ang ibabang bahagi ng plastic ay nasa 150 mm ang taas mula sa katabing bubong. Sa Section 1606 naman o Plastic Light Diffuser in Ceilings. Ang mga diffuser ng ilaw sa kisame na may sukat na higit sa 10% ng anumang 10 square meters na lugar ng silid ay dapat gawa sa mga aprobadong plastic na tumutugon sa mga kinakailangan na nakasaad sa code na ito. Sa Section 1607 naman o partitions, kung ang partition ay hindi kinakailangan maging fire resistive o di nasusunog na construction, ang mga aprobadong plastic na tumutugon sa mga kinakailangan na nakasaad sa code na ito ay maaaring gamitin. Magtungo naman tayo sa Chapter 17. Section 1701, Sheet Metal Paint Spray Booths. In general, ang mga paint spray booth ay dapat gawin mula sa bakal na may kapal na hindi bababa sa number 18 US gauge. Ang disenyo ng booth ay kailangan sumusunod sa mga pamantayan na nakasaad sa code na ito. Area. Ang laki ng isang spray booth ay hindi dapat lumampas sa 150 square meters o sa 10% ng pangunahing sukat na pinapayagan para sa pangunahing gamit ng gusali ayon sa kanyang occupancy group. Ang sahig ng booth ay dapat gawin mula sa mga materyales na di nasusunog upang matiyak ang kaligtasan sa sunog. Interface surface. Ang mga spray booth ay dapat idisenyo upang pahintulutan ang malayong daloy ng exhaust air mula sa lahat ng bahagi ng loob. Ang lahat ng panloob na ibabaw ay kailangan maging malinis at tuloy-tuloy nang walang mga nakalaylay sa gilid. Section 1702 o Fire Protection. Ang regulasyon ito naman ay naglalayong panatili ang kaligtasan sa pamamagitan ng pagbibigay ng proteksyon laban sa apoy. Ang fire curtain o metal deflector ay tumutulong na hadlangan ang pagkalat ng apoy at nagbibigay ng karagdagang seguridad sa mga taong nagtatrabaho sa paligid ng spray booth, lalo na kung ang mga materyales na ginagamit ay madaling mag-apoy. Section 1703 o Light. Tungkol sa light ay may kinalaman sa kung paano dapat iilaw ang mga spray booths. Ito yung lugar kung saan nagpipintura gamit ang spray. Dapat ang mga ilaw sa paint spray booths ay dumadaan sa mga panel na gawa sa hammered wire o with treated glass na may matibay at hindi madaling mabasag. Tinakda rin dito na ang mga glass panel na ito ay ilalagay sa posisyong makakaiwas sa posibleng pagsiklab ng apoy o pagkasunog dulot ng naipong spray paint. Section 1704 naman, dito naman tungkol ito sa ventilation at may kinalaman sa mga kinakailangan para sa maayos at ligtas na ventilasyon sa paint spray booths. In general, dapat magkaroon ng mechanical ventilation o ventilasyong pinapatakbo ng makina na direkta naglalabas ng hangin palabas ng gusali. Ang exhaust system na ito ay dapat dinisenyo upang maipatakbo ang hangin sa paint spray areas sa bilis na hindi bababa sa 30 meters per second. Ang mga blade o talim ng exhaust fan ay kailangang gawa sa non-ferrous material o materyales na hindi madaling kalawangin at dapat nakaposisyon na ito nakadikit sa exhaust duct upang maiwasan ang pinsala o panganib. Exhaust ducts. Ang mga exhaust duct naman, ito yung naglalabas ng hangin mula sa paint spray booth, ay kailangan gawa sa bakal na may tamang kapal ayon sa itinakda ng secretary or namamahalang opisyal. Dapat din nakaposisyon ang mga discharge point ng ducts ng spray booth na hindi bababa sa 2 meters mula sa anumang madaling mag-apoy na bahagi ng gusali at hindi bababa sa 8 meters mula sa mga bintana o butas sa mga kalapit na pader. Chapter 18 na tayo. Section 1801. Ang section na ito ay may kinalaman sa pangkalahatang kinakailangan para sa paggamit ng salamin o glass at pag-install ng mga gusali. Sa clause ng bahaging ito naman, ang lahat ng panlabas na salamin sa lahat ng uri ng occupancies o mga uri ng gusali o espasyo, maliban sa mga tinatawag na roof A, B, at J na may mataas na higit sa 3 palapag. Sa clause rin ang lahat ng panloob at panlabas na salamin na maaaring tamaan o maapektuhan ng tao ayon sa alituntunin ng code. B. Ang mga pamantayan para sa materyales ay kailangan tumugma sa mga probisyon na itinakda ng sekretary, kabilang ang mga sukat, tibay sa pagkabasag at mga disenyo na nakabase sa kaligtasan. Ang bawat piraso ng salamin ay dapat may tatak mula sa manufacturer na nagpapakita ng uri ng kapal ng salamin. Kung ang salamin ay may espesyal na katangian gaya ng pagiging laminated, heat strength, fully tempered o insulated, kailangan ito magkaroon ng permanenteng marka na nagpapakita ng espesipikong katangian at kapal ng salamin. At dapat ito ay nakikita kahit ng salamin ay naka-install na. Ang Section 1802 naman, ito ay tungkol sa mga area limitation ng mga salamin sa panlabas ng gusali. Ang mga panlabas na salamin at dazing ay kailangan kayang tiisin ang pwersa ng hangin, depende sa taas ng bahagi ng gusali kung saan ito naka-install. Ang pwersang ito ay maaaring tumulak papasok o palabas kahit kailangan tiyakin na hindi madaling mabasag o masira ang salamin dahil sa lakas ng hangin. Section 1803 naman. Ang Section 1803, ito ay tumutukoy sa mga kinakailangan para sa pag-install ng salamin sa mga lugar na sinusuportahan ng 4 na gilid. Ang mga salamin na ganito ay ang suporta ay kailangan lagyan ng glazing na may tamang lapse ang overlap ng salamin sa frame at tamang edge clearance ito na pagitan ng gilid ng salamin sa frame na naayon sa tinakda Section 1801. Kapag ang salamin naman ay naka-install sa mga fixed opening o hindi nagagal o permanenteng mga space, ang edge clearance dapat ay hindi dapat bababa o kailangan para makayanan ang mga pwersang dulot ng hangin at lindol upang maiwasang mabasag o masira ang salamin. Sa Section 1804 naman, ang Section 1804 naman, ito ay nagtatakda ng mga kinakailangan para sa lowered windows o bintanang may mga jalousie o lower na slats. Ang mga salamin na ginagamit sa ganitong uri ng bintana tulad ng regular plates, sheet glass, pattern glass ay hindi dapat mas manipis sa 5.6 mm. Ang haba ng bawat piraso ng salamin ay hindi rin dapat lalampas sa 1.20 meters upang maiwasan ang pagbasag o pagkasira. Chapter 19 o Use of Computer. Sa ilalim ng Section 1901 o General Rule, pinapayagan ang paggamit ng mga computer sa kahit anong bahagi ng pagdedesign ng mga gusali ayon sa code na ito. Pero kailangan tiyakin na ang lahat ng programang gagamitin sa proseso ay nakadokumento. Ibig sabihin, dapat may maayos na talaan o record kung ano ang mga programang ginamit at paano ito nakatulong sa disenyo para masiguro ang tamang paggamit at pagsunod sa mga pamantayan. Section 1902. Program Documentation. Kinakailangan na ang dokumentasyon ng isang programa ay may kasamang mga dokumento o sanggunian o reference na naglalaman ng detalyadong paglalarawan ng program, kabilang ang paliwanag sa mga teoryang ginamit at mga algorithm na nagpapatakbo nito. Ang mga dokumentong ito ay kailangan isinusumite o sinasubmit sa mga building official upang masuri at maintindihan kung paano gumagana ang mga program. Layunin nito na magkaroon ng transparent na pagdodokumento ng mga proseso at technical na aspeto ng programang ginamit sa mga proyektong may kaugnayan sa construction o iba pang mga aplikasyon sa ilalim ng building code. Sa Section 1903 naman tayo, o ang Submission of Computer-Generated Computation. Ito ay nangangailangan na ang mga output sheet o resulta ng mga calculated na ginawa ng isang computer ay dapat isama sa kabuuang dokumento ng design. Ang mga output sheet na ito ay may kailangan nakalakip na certificate mula sa designer o consultant na nagpapatunay na ang mga resulta ay mula sa mga programang may tamang dokumentasyon. Dapat din tukuyin sa certificate kung aling particular na programa ang ginamit para sa bawat bahagi ng mga kalkulasyong na ipinakita. Layunin nito na masiguro ang transparency at tamang pagsunod sa mga pamantayan ng design. Chapter 20 o Sign. Sa Section 2001, General Requirement para sa mga sign o signboard ay may dalang pangunahing patakaran. Letter A. Hindi dapat magtayo ng anumang sign o signboard na maaaring magdulot ng kalituhan o humara sa tamang pagkakita o pagkaintindi ng mga opisyal na traffic sign, signal o device. Ibig sabihin, hindi dapat nakagulo o makaapekto ang mga signboard sa pag-unawa ng mga tao sa mga official sign na palatandaan sa daan. Letter B. Hindi rin dapat magtayo ng anumang sign o signboard na makaharang sa mga natural tanawin o mga pinupuntahan na place na pwede maka-distract o makagulo sa pagtingin ng publiko na maaaring magdulot ng panganib sa trapiko o makakasira sa mga estetiko at kultura, halaga at tradisyon. Section 2002 naman o ang maintenance ng mga signboards. Kinakailangan na ang lahat ng signs, pati ng mga suporta nito, brace, guy wires at mga anchor nito ay dapat panatilihing maayos at sa tamang kondisyon. Dapat na mga sign ay laging maayos ang pintura at nakasecure upang panatili itong ligtas at presentable sa lahat ng oras. Layunin nito na masiguro na ang mga sign ay hindi lang functional kundi maganda at maayos tignan at hindi nagdudulot ng panganib sa publiko. Sa Section 2003 naman tayo o Design and Construction. Nakasaad na ang mga estruktura ng mga sign ay dapat dinisenyo at itayo upang kayanin ang lahat ng pwersa ayon sa pamantayan ng National Structural Code for Buildings. Para sa mga sign na nakabit sa mga gusali, dapat tiyakin na ang bigat ng sign ay malilipat ng maayos sa structural frame ng gusali papunta sa lupa, nang hindi nagdudulot ng sobrang stress sa anumang bahagi ng gusali. Sa Section 2004 naman, or mga supports and anchorage, nakasaad na ang mga suporta at angkla ng lahat ng signs o sign structure ay dapat ilagay sa loob ng pribadong ari-arian at dapat itayo ayon sa pamantayan ng code na ito. Ang mga materyales na gagamitin para sa pagtatayo ng mga sign o mga structure na ito ay kinakailangan may tamang kalidad at grado na itinakda rin ng code. Layunin nito na masiguro na ang mga signs ay matibay, matatag at hindi magdudulot ng panganib o abala sa mga tao o makatabing structure. Sa Section 2005 naman, o projection and clearances, tinatalakay dito mga kinakailangan distansya at mga bagay na dapat isaalang-alang sa paglalagay ng mga sign upang maiwasan ang mga panganib at pagsunod sa mga pamantayan sa kaligtasan. Letter A. Clearances from high voltage power lines. Ito naman dapat tiyakin na may sapat na distansya ang mga sign mula sa mga high voltage power lines upang maiwasan ang panganib ng kuryente at posibleng aksidente. Letter B. Clearances from fire escape exits or standpipes. Hindi dapat naman ito humarang ang mga anumang sign sa mga fire escapes, exit o standpipes. Malaga ito para masiguro na walang hadlang sa mga lugar na ginagamit para sa emergency exit at mga fire safety apparatus. Obstruction of openings. Hindi naman dapat humarang ang mga signs sa mga openings o mga bukas na bahagi ng gusali, gaya ng mga bintana, para hindi masangkaan ang natural na liwanag, hangin o maging hadlang sa kaligtasan na sa loob ng gusali. And last, projection over alleys. Kung ang sign ay nakausli sa mga alleys o makikipot na daanan, Dapat ito ay may tamang taas at posisyon upang hindi nakasagabal o makakasakit sa mga dumadaan, lalo na sa mga pedestrian o sasakyan. And sa Section 2006, Lighting, nakasaad naman na ang mga sign ay dapat may tamang ilawan gamit ang electrical na pamamaraan na naaayon sa alituntunin ng Philippine Electrical Code. Ibig sabihin, ang lahat ng ilaw na gagamitin para sa mga sign ay dapat sumusunod sa pamantayan ng kaligtasan at wastong pag-install ng kuryente na itinakda ng Philippine Electrical Code upang maiwasan anumang panganib tulad ng sunog o aksidente dulot ng maling pag-install ng ilaw. Lastly, last chapter, Chapter 21 on Transitory and Final Provision. Sa Section 2101 naman o Existing Building and Structures, pinapayag lang dito na ang lahat ng gusali o structure na itinayo sa ilalim ng RA 6541 o anumang umiiral na building codes o ordinansa ng lungsod o munisipalidad ay kikililanin kung mga ito ay tinayo ng legal at alinsunod sa patakaran. Ibig sabihin, ang mga gusaling ito ay may bisa at hindi kaagad kailangan sundin ang bagong alituntunin ng code na ito. Sa Section 2102, Interim Rules and Regulation, nakasaad na mga naunang alituntunin ay manatiling may kapangyarihan at maaaring sundin hanggat hindi sila sumasalungat sa mga bagong patakaran na itinakda ng code na ito. Layunin nito na maisiguro ang tuloy-tuloy na pagsunod sa mga umiiral na regulasyon habang nag-aangkop sa mga bagong pamantayan. Sa Section 2103, Separability Clause, nakasaad dito na kahit na ang isang bahagi ng batas ay maituring na labag sa batas o lumabag, ang ibang bahagi nito ay manatiling epektibo at may bisa. Layunin nito na masiguro na ang buong code ay hindi mawawalan ng bisa sa kabila ng posibilidad o isang provision na hindi naaayon. Ang Section 2104 naman, ito ay tinatawag na repealing clause na ang layunin nito ay tanggalin o baguhin ang mga umiiral na batas, kautusan o regulasyon o anumang bahagi nito na sumasalungat at hindi tugma sa mga probisyon ng bagong batas o kautusan na nilalabas. Ibig sabihin, kung may mga dating batas o regulasyon na hindi umaayon sa bagong batas na ito, ang mga ito ay hindi tinuturing na epektibo o hindi siya ipagpapatuloy. Lastly, ang Section 2105 o ang effectivity na this code is may bisa na siya na may pinirmahan sa City of Manila in 19 of February in the year of 1987.